gross. Please do your best with it. I'll try to mute as time goes on. Anyway,
All
ready when
right.
you are.
Yes. All right. Welcome back to slashMLS. It's the season preview edition. It's not the CBA preview, stupid review, dumb shit edition, because that's depressing. And it already happened. They agreed, and we're gonna have soccer and na 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 na. Celebrate with me, James. Woo!
Ian is very happy about soccer happening. Apparently,
Yeah. Well, we
not,
all
not
are.
yeah. Not only does he get soccer this weekend, but he actually gets soccer right now.
Yeah, I'm literally watching DC try to claw back from that epic deficit that Dykstra put us in, and you know
Yeah, yeah.
when you were watching that game, did you watch that game last week? By the way, because I didn't.
I I
I was in the
watched
middle of audition week.
I watched some of that game, and
Mhm.
when it was clear where the game was headed, I turned it off. In fact, I actually did the same thing for the Montreal game yesterday, and I was like, "Oh, god damn it, it's over." Turned it off. Half an hour later, I hear about this like goddamn epic goal from a rookie I'd never heard of.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
assisted by former Minnesota United loon Callum Malice.
right.
By the way, I'd watched him play in person. Oh shit! Oh, this is why you have Hamid. He can do things like that instead of Dykstra, who whatever. Anyway,
You know, it's funny.
what?
Yeah,
Bro,
you may recall Matt Doyle actually posting a GIF of, well, for Pete's sake, a GIF of Hamid doing exactly that when Dykstra gave up a goal to a through ball like that. But
yeah.
anyway,
So when you were watching that game and Dykstra was taking a shit, do you remember last year's Open Cup game between the Galaxy and the Railhawks?
was that John Dykstra?
No,
Oh,
no.
okay. I thought that's what you were about to say.
Our
Um,
goalie, the Railhawks goalie in that game was Scotty Goodwin, who stymied you guys time and time and again. We brought him in as a trialist to potentially back up Hamid and Dykstra and whatever, and apparently he didn't stick on. And my thinking is, why not? Like, because Scotty Goodwin is literally like his role is to win games like that for teams, or
well,
at least have them in it.
you know, I have a hard time giving him credit for really that game. He was well positioned. Don't get me wrong. Like he was
Hmm.
standing where he was supposed to stand, but he didn't really have to work very much for his saves. Even Robbie Keane was putting it right at his feet, right in his hands, right to him every time. And so I really credit more the Galaxy. I mean, I don't mean to piss all over the Railhawks or anything, because after 3 years in a row or several years in a row, I should probably give them a little bit more respect than I do. But um, I think that was really more a testament to how badly the Galaxy were playing and less to how good the keeping was.
Well, whatever. I thought Scotty Goodwin was meant to play that game. Oh look, an Alajuelense player is down in the box for no particularly good reason, with the ball outside of the box.
And
DC
and we are and
United.
we are late and we are deep, gentlemen, into the 5th minute of play. So I mean, it makes sense that they'd be using some time wasting at this very moment. And yes, so this will become the live podcast for DC United's last CCL game of 2015. But
Quite indeed. Well, but
well, actually, yeah, because yeah, you guys didn't make it for this coming one, right?
no, we did.
Okay.
We won the East.
You
So
won the East outright. Okay, yeah, because everybody else is in the West. Yeah.
yeah.
All right.
Well, no, just winning the East that's enough to get you
Right.
in.
No, what I'm saying is that like the winner of the West was Seattle, who got the Open Cup, and so then it went down to number 2, who's the LA Galaxy, who won MLS Cup, and then it went down to number 3, who was
Those are
RSL.
so right.
Yeah, and that was the only time that RSL will ever root for LA in the final.
That's right, because they wouldn't have made it. Oh
They
well.
would not have. But
Um,
yeah, actually, hey, why don't we? But yeah, we can definitely start talking about where you think DC United will be in this year's standings.
well, before that happens, first of all, I want to touch on later. We're gonna in a couple minutes we're gonna bring on Michael McCollum. He's a writer at City Soccer Talk. reached out to him. Originally, we were going to talk to him about how shitty the CBA situation was for Orlando. Now we get to talk to him about how awesome this whole soccer happening thing is for Orlando. So that will happen shortly. And also, this is the RMLS unofficial podcast, and we have to shout out to Duke 282, Flower Guy, who the real reason the situation resolved. I tried to get him on the pod. I'm sure he is flooded with emails and invites and things. So maybe later, maybe sometime in the near future. But yeah, I just wanted to do that. And we can talk about all of those things after a quick break. After which we will bring in Michael McCollum, City Soccer Talk dude. I figured the best way to do things like this is have breaks.
Sure.
Now. So
yeah. Okay.
That is what I'm gonna do.
Do you have him on the line? Like, is he gonna be here in a second, or?
I'm about to
loop him in on the call.
Yeah.
Ah. Okay.
McCallum.
But yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised to see that Josh is so down on Portland for the coming year. I think that might just be.
I'm not.
I'm not either. I mean, I'm not quite. I don't think that they're. I don't know. Actually, I have no idea where they are, to be honest. Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll talk about this in a minute.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Did we make goal? We have not yet made goal.
You have not yet made goal.
Yeah. That's okay.
I've got it up on my second screen, so if something interesting happens, I'll be like.
That is a thing I wish I had, a second screen. Alas. It is not a thing that I have.
You could purchase one.
Yeah, but like money and stuff. Also, I operate from a laptop, pretty much.
Yeah, I know. But the angle betrays that.
Hold on a second.
Go for it.
I've returned.
Okay.
Alright, hopefully dude guy shows up. Oh, it's me. Alright, hold on. Invite both of them again.
Okay.
Uh-oh. Something's happening. A bunch of people are crowded around.
It's CCL, man. It's
okay.
None of this counts. Like it's CONCACAF. Any time that like players are swarming each other, who knows what happened?
Yeah.
Oh, guys got all tangled up in each other. Clearly, that means that it's time to start hitting people. CONCACAF. I mean, come on. They just can't fucking believe that they're gonna make the they're gonna make the knockout round.
They're in the knockout round already.
What was that? Oh, sorry. You know what I mean. They can't believe that they're going to advance. Because
they might not. Still, we have hope.
You do. It's true. And look, and this is a team that can absolutely score 3 goals. But you know, I'm fucking Espindola knows that he's got to put it all in the field, otherwise he's taking a month and a half break.
Yep. True facts. Oh, I guess that's not a foul. Oh! Is that not a foul either? Okay. That's fine. Boop, 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 boop.
There's a very long dead zone of that we're gonna have to cut.
That's fine. I don't care. I might end
Yep.
up doing it to get it out tomorrow morning.
Okay.
So.
Michael McCallum. AEL. Mikhail McCallum. Yeah, actually, can't. Not sure what the lineup is right now.
Us?
Yeah, I should look that up.
I can tell you. It's,
Wait, did Espindola wear number 10 last year? I don't think so.
He might not have. But, yeah.
I don't think he did. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Anyway, yeah, I actually haven't installed the MLS app on my new phone yet, so I'll just do that. Because they have CCL stuff. Oh!
Ah! Fuck.
Oh, party boy. You will never be what you could have been. It is unfortunate. You have just been hurt too many fucking times.
Yeah. Alas.
Alas, indeed. Okay, let's go ahead and turn off all notifications first.
Right. Go. Invite. What was that? What were you doing, Chris Pontius?
He was playing professional soccer.
Doesn't look like it.
Let's see. Spindola, Arietta, Pontius, Kitchen,
Yeah, that's
Arnaud,
weird.
De Leon. Is Silva hurt?
Yeah.
Franklin, Boswell, Birnbaum, Korb, Chris Korb. I cannot believe you guys still play Chris Korb, pay Chris Korb to play soccer.
Hey, he's not awful.
Oh man, he used to be so unbelievably bad. I know he's better now than he was then, but good God. Oh, hello.
Hello.
Hey guys, what's going on?
Not much. Have you heard anything from Pete?
I have not.
He has never indicated. Oh shit. Oh, okay. He has never indicated anything other than that he was going to be here. So I'm a little surprised.
Okay. Well, he better be
Well-
here.
Yeah. Well, we can start back up.
Otherwise, I'm gonna fire him. I'm just kidding.
Well, he was there to fill in for me that one time. So no, I'm kidding. I don't mean that. But yeah. Well, welcome to our extremely professional, fun podcast.
Thanks for having me, guys. Hey, let me real quick ask you though on this Audacity thing.
Sure.
What do you want me to do for that? Just like start it and.
We'll start it, and then we'll all clap at the same time so that the editor can put them all together. And then you can upload it to a Dropbox that.
Okay.
Oh, Pete, hello. That.
Hello.
Pete,
Oh,
you're
good
just
God.
in time.
Have you switched to being a Timber supporter?
Hipster slam.
Yeah. Damn. All right. No, this is good. Then we don't need like a third loop. So.
Hey, Pete, do you want to take over hosting for me? I hosted the first segment, but now that you're here,
The first
segment?
segment. Oh shit!
Do we want
You guys are...
Do we want to call it a segment? I mean, we could honestly, we could just start over. I'm not gonna lie.
hey, it was good. I liked it. We
Okay.
said some fun things about. We should at
Okay.
least keep it in consideration.
Okay,
And
hang
if
on.
not, we can always-
Sure. Sure, sure.
Let me pull up the Google Doc here.
Yeah. And as far as Audacity goes, how do you want your name pronounced, first of all?
Who, me?
Yeah.
It's Michael. It's just like normal.
Michael.
Yeah, it's just
Okay.
weird spelling.
Oh.
Yeah. The
So I'm
Scott
used-
spelling or whatever.
Yeah, I was
There's
gonna say. Yeah, I was like.
As a fan, I'm used to pronouncing your name Mikayo.
Yeah, no.
That's.
It's not Irish.
Yeah, I was gonna, yeah. It's not.
No,
He is not Slavic.
A lot of times
There's a comedian named Mike Kaplan, and he spells it MYQ.
Nice.
Mike.
That's pretty. That's
Good.
like,
Now I know to avoid that man.
yeah, that's awful.
He's really funny. I think he just had super hippie parents. Ian, where
That
the
was a foul.
are the notes?
That
Yeah,
he
good.
called the foul. Okay.
I sent them to you.
I know,
Okay, good.
I know, but I have so many goddamn emails. Hold on.
Why?
Because
Are
I'm
you
popular, Ian. What do you want me to say?
I would say
There we
use
go.
the.
I got it.
Also use the auto tabs that Gmail does because they're actually kind of amazing.
The
Auto
auto tabs.
What is
So
that?
like you can set up the tabs and it'll like switch everything's up for you. It's like so these are like all of the ad emails and then these are all of the emails about travel.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so like I have you guys set so like it'll go to like the personal one. So things where I only get like 4 emails a week to.
So here's the thing about that. I set that all up, and it's awesome, and then I got a Mac, and now I'm using the Mac Mail program, and those don't play nicely, so I have to figure something else out.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, full disclosure, I absolutely have 1/4 of my screen dedicated to the DC games. So
I have half of the screen.
You might notice that I'm looking over that way to my second monitor. So yeah, I think we're all doing the same. Oh shit! I think we're all doing the same thing.
Also, second full disclosure, I left my good quality mic at the house that we tend to house sit, so I will not sound as good as in the past. I'll still use Audacity and all that, but unfortunately it's just going to be my laptop mic, so that's...
Okay.
All right.
Can make it
Well,
work.
you sound okay.
Okay, that's good. I sound a lot like... When I listen to the podcast, I can definitely hear the difference when I use the good mic, but it doesn't sound awful, so let me pull up Audacity, let me get rolling before we actually start here.
All right, cool.
And let's
And
see.
it's only 5:30, which is usually when we get started anyway. So
Yeah, exactly. I tried to make it as early as I could. Built-in microphone.
And Pete, our guest is Michael McCallum. Is that how to?
Yep. Yeah, that's right.
Of City Soccer Talk.
Yeah, citysoccertalk.com.
Yes.
Well, let's do this traditional. We will I'll introduce the podcast, and then I'll let Ian go, and then James, and then Ian, if you want to introduce Mike, then we can do it that way.
All right. Sounds
Since
good.
we kind of set this thing up, and you can lead us into what he's doing here. Oh, hold on. New note on the collective bargaining. I still have the live stream open, so I'm getting pop-up notifications.
you know what? I should get that back open too. Or I'll just put it on my phone.
Oh Jesus!
Oh Jesus! Okay.
This is why Bill Hamid, guys. Hey, we might suck this year.
Test. How come my Audacity doesn't seem to be... Do I have to be recording for it to...
Yes.
Oh, yep, there it goes. Okay, let's turn that down just a slight little bit, and right about there, and that looks good. Okay.
Oh, shit. Paul Tenorio actually put something out. Okay.
Yeah, I see that. I'm ready to get going, or do we need to do another clap here?
Yeah, we should do that. So yeah, somebody count it down, and for Michael's benefit, we do 3, 2, 1 clap, not like 3, 2.
Right. Clap is after 1 in the
So
set.
everybody does the countdown? Is that how this works?
Right. Yeah. So that way, yeah. Well, no. Just so one person counts down, and then everybody claps.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Everybody ready?
Yep.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Excellent. Okay.
Close enough.
Yeah, good enough. Okay, so I'm just going to introduce this as if it's brand new, and if there's audio that happened before now that you feel is worthwhile, we can work that out with Austin.
Okay.
All right, give me just a moment, moment of silence here, and we'll jump right in. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a special CBA edition of the slashMLS podcast. My name is Pete, username PunkRockPete.
I'm Ian, username Armaskarhu.
And I am James, better known as username Nefarious Joe.
And with us today we have Michael McCallum from CitySoccerTalk.com. Hello, Michael.
Hey guys, glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us.
No problem. No problem. Well, good news tonight, right? I mean, it's kind of...
Yeah. For our time, the CBA has just been announced as being pretty much done. I don't know if it's actually been signed, but there are a lot of players that are tweeting about how they're going to play ball. So unless Nick Raimondo is going to get himself fined, I think we're pretty much set to go on Friday.
It has been a roller coaster of emotions today, my friends. It's watching this just all develop, from 50-50 there's going to be a strike. Oh my God, 95% there's going to be a strike. Okay, dial it back.
He was doomsaying from day one, and that was insane. Like, everyone was saying the only way it's going to happen is with a strike, and I never quite believed that. And I'm sure Michael can attest to this, is that there's just no way that all of the owners were on the same page, where they're saying, no free agency, we don't care if they strike. I mean, would the Orlando City and NYCFC ownership really, like the guys who paid two of the biggest franchise fees in history, really be going on to say, oh yeah, no, we're totally with you. We will gladly miss our sold-out opener.
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous. So, the president came out, I think yesterday, and was like, or this morning, and basically said, no, this not going to be a problem. There's not going to be a strike. They were pulling the wool over our heads down here, I think, kind of to an extent. But secretly, they must have seriously been just kind of
sweating,
yeah, seriously. Yeah. Because, I mean, it would be just a disaster down here, I know, and maybe not such as a big deal for New York, but us being in the opener on Sunday and all that kind of stuff, it would not have been pretty.
Right.
So that's kind of the reason we had you here, Michael, is originally the CBA was not done yet, and Orlando had most to lose, and everybody was getting a little bit freaked out, including me. I was like, I really couldn't give a shit about any of these other games. If all these other games were played a week later, whatever, this Orlando City game could be one of the biggest in MLS history, and we can't.
Yes.
We need to do everything we can to make sure it happens, and it's going to happen now. So how?
I mean, I think there's just a collective sigh of relief, but the funny thing is down here, and I don't know if this is something that you guys realize maybe out in the other parts, but there's kind of two worlds. I mean, it's the guys who, or the people who have been into it all along, the USL Pro, and they've been following it for the 4 years and that kind of thing. And then there's this whole new group of people, and they really weren't on the same page. I mean, our media down here, whether it be the newspaper or the radio, is a very limited coverage so far. And I mean, they're borderline soccer idiots, just to kind of put it lightly. And so, the whole concept of the strike and the potential CBA issues and all of that really wasn't particularly known to the people who were going to be the ones that are doing the majority of that 60,000. I mean,
right? They would have been completely blindsided by getting an email saying like, "Oh yeah, game's off. Sorry guys."
Yeah, I mean, I've talked
when it finally happens. Fingers crossed.
I mean, I can't tell you how many people I would bring it up to that whatever I'd see on the street with a hat or whatever, and they're like, "What are you talking about?" And so, I mean, obviously,
especially because the league and all of the teams have 100% acted like nothing was going on. MLSsoccer.com has no information about it. Orlando is announcing hey, we're sponsored with Disney World, and there's all this stuff going on.
Jersey Week.
Yeah,
we're totally ramping up for.
The casual fan would have no idea that they were in danger of missing one of the most important games in history. To bring it home, Michael, for how important it is, we had an offline discussion in an email thread where, as a Sounders season ticket holder, I said, I am more upset about the fact that this Orlando NYC game isn't going to happen than not getting to go to my own home opener. I'm far more concerned about that game not happening.
Yeah, I mean, the magnitude of the game just seems, and I know that we're obviously kind of in a different light down here, but it just seems league-wide that there's a lot of attention being placed on it. I mean, it's the two expansion teams going at it. You have the two big designated player signings who are going to be facing off. I mean, there's a lot on the line, and to just kind of put that big empty space up there on ESPN on Sunday night or whatever, I don't know. I mean, that would be something hard to come back from.
Wait, two big designated player signings? Are you saying that Lampard's going to be there?
Well, Via's still going to be there.
So,
Via and
Well,
Kaká, I mean,
more or
that's a
whatever.
pretty big deal right there.
yeah.
I actually
I
saw someone in Chapel Hill walking down the street with the David Villa NYCFC jersey, and I knew it was an NYCFC jersey because it had the MLS logo. Otherwise, I would have had no idea.
Yeah.
Well, also the MLS jerseys are all Adidas, and Man City is Nike. So the telltale.
All right.
stripe.
Well, I couldn't. I don't have that great of eyesight, so I wouldn't have been able to see that.
Well, I think that particular game would speak to and be the most visually stunning example of what was really at stake this season. Part of the reason why I think that there was never going to be a strike is that the league had too much going on for this season. They had not one but two TV deals for well into, over the course of the contract's lifestyle, into the 9 figures. They would be pissing off the hand that feeds them, not only here but also in England. They have 2 new teams that they're trying to hype up. They don't want to piss off CFG, City Football Group, who now owns, who's the majority shareholder of NYCFC, and they don't want to. They don't want the first year after Life Without Landon being a strike. They don't want and they don't want to miss out on the opportunity of the World Cup bump. There's so much of an opportunity for the league there to make sure that this weekend happens. And so I don't think that there was really they were always going to blink first. It was just a matter of and I know that there were definitely some professional journalists making the same point, is that it was basically a matter of getting the old school owners on board. When they were saying that the owners don't like this idea of free agency, and when Steve Birnbaum said that it's like, oh, well, that's not what they quote-unquote bought into, the only people that they are talking about are the people who bought into the league in 1996. That's
Absolutely.
it.
Absolutely.
It's like Anthony Precourt does not give a shit about, not having free agency and making sure that he can has absolute control over player signings. Like, yeah. And so I think it's...
And I would say the same thing about Joe Roth and
that's
Hanauer.
very, yeah. I mean, it's just this whole idea. It's just these things that are very upsetting to me. It's like these 1.0 things that I thought we'd outgrown.
Well, so the interesting point. So I've been emailing back and forth with our awesome interview from last week, Stephen Bank, basically MLS CBA expert now, and Prophet.
And /MLS legal correspondent.
Yes. Basically, that's what we're going to get to call him now. And he mentioned that the reason that probably those hardliners were the ones that were in the room is because, for that reason, is they were going to be the ones that were going to be the most difficult to convince, and also they just happened to have most conservative, and they happened to have among the most clout and have invested some of the most money, like, over the course of MLS life. Where you probably got the concessions is from exactly what you're talking about. Like when you heard those reports that Rollins was pushing back on no free agency and there was division within the ownership, they were probably sending messages saying, hey, maybe we should concede at least a little bit. But the guys that were actually physically in the room are going to be the ones that provided the most stark contrast. I don't know if that's a typical negotiating ploy for things like this, but it does seem like it's the thing that you do in that situation. And that was a terrible through ball. You could have gone anywhere with that.
Yeah. For those just joining us, if you hear Ian make any strange comments or probably unintelligible noises, the DC is still only 3 goals behind. We'll see. We'll see where they are. As I was saying there before, this is a team that is capable of scoring 3 goals, and if they get to even 3-1, they still go through. So, or even if it's 4-1, like they could still give up a goal and get through.
It looks exactly like MLS Cup '96. Right now.
Oh yeah, with the rain.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cold.
It's supposed to be
and the beleaguered DC players.
And Ben Olsen, actually, sorry, Ben Olsen wasn't there in '96, but
regardless, so I think we're all just grateful that this CBA negotiation is behind us. I will say I'm surprised the owners didn't give them more, not because I thought that they would cave necessarily, but if I'm them, I would say, well, we'll give them their dream situation, and then we will have the upper hand for the next 3 negotiations. Like
that's kind
for
of
the
not
next
how that works,
15 years, they'd be ours. But it feels like they'd be able to say, we gave you free agency. What
though.
more do you want?
Yeah, but in negotiating, when you win, you have the upper hand the next time. Still.
Yeah, you're also you got to frame this in the mind of rich old millionaires that have made their money on business and boardrooms and have absolutely no reason to be pragmatic about it.
But it just feels that or say at the very least, give them a better sense of free agency and say this CBA lasts for the next 10 years. Say that.
Yeah, because that's a big win for the owners. The longer the CBA, the better the owners come out. So I can see that. Like, okay, we're going to give you free agency, but it's a 10-year fucking deal, and that's it. That's all. That's the end of the story.
I mean, I don't see a situation wherein the owners can't see that reining in that spending, because I really don't think that players cared that much about salary. They cared about minimum salary, and they cared about people not getting bumped down so often. I mean,
and they got a significant minimum salary bump.
They got a huge minimum salary. That was easily their biggest win. So
let's talk details for those that are listening, since it's kind of been all over the place. The details that we've heard so far, at least.
The 5-year deal is something that's new. That's big. A new detail.
Is that official? Because I keep seeing 7 versus 5.
I'm also seeing 7. Yeah.
I see Sharetta saying 5.
That's a big win for the players.
It would be, yeah. Yeah. So I'm seeing that, and free agency after 28 years old and 8 years in the league.
So that's an and, not an or.
I do believe that is an and, yes.
Oh, that's too bad. That's probably why so many teams. So what we've heard so far is that 7 teams out of 20 voted against this deal, and I could definitely see the portion being and as a sticking point. Because that sucks. I mean, if you're 28 years old and you've been in the league 5 years, go fuck yourself.
Well, or if you're 18 and you've been in the league 8 years and you're 26, go fuck yourself.
Right, exactly.
Taylor Twellman on SportsCenter this morning actually made a very interesting point, saying that in this league where they've talked up that they want to focus on development of young players, that they want to bring in young players and then develop them and sell them, like they want to be a force on the global market in that way, then why would they restrict young players that much? And they probably are thinking, well, we want them to come in and then keep them. When in reality, you're going to have situations like Camilo Sanvezo over and over and over and over again. You're going to find people who are dissatisfied, who are going to have monster years, and they're going to be on teams that can't give them a DP contract. And they're going to suddenly say, okay, well, the only way that I'm going to get a pay raise is by leaving the league, which is definitely not something that they want. And the last thing that they want is somebody going to FIFA and complaining about the situation. They caved on Camilo, who essentially left in a mutiny. It was, it's like nobody wanted that to happen. Nobody on the league's side wanted that deal to happen, but it happened.
Right.
And I don't think that they want to see that over and over again, and I think it's a situation that they still have themselves set up for.
So, Michael, while we have you here, talk a little bit more about...
Goal!
Hold on. My stream crapped out. Did we score? We did score!
Yeah, he wasn't kidding. Arietta, of all people.
I'm not going to interrupt the podcast to yell goal on a fake goal.
Look, it's something my little brother would do. So not... something I'm used to.
Wait. Wait. So if your stream isn't consistent, that means I could be like, oh my god, they just scored again.
Yeah. I just got it back though. So, all right, De Leon to Arietta. All right, All right.
Okay,
Very
saying
ball
that is
game.
De Leon to Arrieta is kind of giving him a little bit more credit. Arrieta,
De Leon?
De Leon
Oh.
to the pinball machine in the box,
Right,
and then
exactly.
it's Arrieta. God, Jairo Arrieta. I thought you were done, man. I thought you were done. I didn't believe in you anymore.
So, Michael, you're talking to people down in Orlando. You've talked a little bit about this before, how some of the journalists and some of the fans there's just this big sense of relief. What was the sort of contingency within the supporters groups and Orlando fans had there not been a game?
A lot of beer, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I don't really think there was one. I think the contingency plan was that they were just going to lose their minds if it didn't happen. As far as the supporter groups, I think for the general public, it was kind of. I mean, again, I don't think I can really stress enough that I think that they were clueless, and so, I think it's obviously such a relief that it went through. But the supporter groups in particular, I think were planning on just kind of using up whatever tifos or whatever they were doing, and just kind of attacking the town as I think I heard some plans that they were just going to go downtown and throw their streamers around and that kind of thing as like a protest. But I mean, ultimately, I'm just glad it didn't happen. I don't think there was a contingency plan, and the club was just kind of playing it along, and it's going to happen. We're going to play, and it's going to be a thing. And they opened up 2,000 extra seats today, so I mean, they're obviously happy. So I mean, now we're going to look at maybe 62,000 on Sunday, which is crazy.
I think that note actually gives us a very, very nice opportunity for a segue. So since we know for a fact that as close as we can get to a fact, that the game will be going on, what's your outlook for Orlando for the season?
Well, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I've probably, I've been attacked a couple times here on Twitter or on my blog or whatever for some of my, I don't call them negative, but some other people thought I've been a little negative. Our defense has looked, sketchy at best, I guess I'd say.
Probably disorganized.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some really soft goals that have been put up, and especially that disaster of the last one there against Houston. I don't know if you guys are familiar with what happened there, but
season, so at least I will need to be enlightened.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to say. I mean, we were down 2 men. We got 2 straight reds. It was just one of those things where it was just kind of a disaster from the get-go, and so you can't really take much from it. I mean, 11-9, what are you going to do? But I think that left us a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths as far as what to expect going into the season. But I think we're all still hopeful. I mean, I think that our midfield is really solid. I think that we have some talent up top. I mean, Roches is coming in. I mean, I think that he's definitely going to impress some people. I think that the biggest problem, obviously, is the defense, and so we have. Colin coming over, and he's, maybe not living up to his billing in the preseason, but the preseason's the preseason. So if we can get something next to him, and avoid some of the injuries, I think the biggest problem.
Actually get like a number 1 in goal.
Yeah, well, I mean the biggest problem is injuries. I mean, honestly, they're so thin. There's no depth. So I mean, one big injury and we're going to be hurting. But I think that we can compete for maybe that 6th spot. I don't think that it's going to be easy, and I think it's going to take a little time. And honestly, and the point that I had made that people weren't happy with is I think that the start out the season it's going to be a little bit rougher than most people imagine, and it's
of course it is. It's an expansion team. It's got to happen.
But I think that the interesting aspect of the folks down here is that the last 4 years with the success that they've had, I think that the people are going to be in for a little bit of a wake up call that success isn't just going to be an immediate carryover.
Right, because you guys are used to winning championships at the USL Pro level, and now that that's not really a guarantee. I mean, you guys will probably, I think you guys will probably make the playoffs in the first year, but that's not championship contenders, not necessarily. But
right,
I would say
making the playoffs is that's a success in my book, and I think a lot of people down here would see that as a huge success. But at the same time, there's some people who are a little bit unrealistic. So I mean, I guess that would be anywhere though.
I would take the sort of support that I've seen for Orlando City is probably the best expansion support I've seen since the Timbers. And they had the same sort of thoughts going in. They're like, "Oh, we're gonna be great. Oh, Kenny fucking Cooper, like he was this great, as if he was this great player," and talking about all these other things. And when they started losing, they totally took it in stride. Like they took it on the chin the first year. They loved their crazy coach, and I did too. I miss him. And I think that the sort of blind optimism that occurs with preseason. You guys are a new team, so it's going to be a huge part of that too. But I think that they'll end up being a lot more flexible than you think.
Yeah.
And I do think you guys will win by 4 in your first game. So.
Wow.
You think they're just going to like destroy?
But here's the question: are they going to win 4-0, or are they going to win like 7-3?
Yeah, right.
Oh my God! You guys are used to 7-3 games.
Because I do not see Orlando getting a shutout.
No.
I don't see anybody getting a shutout in the first week. That's a thing. There's so much attacking power in the league right now. I mean, this is something that I said towards the end of the season this past year about how much attacking there was in 2014, and I think that's something that's absolutely going to carry over. Just in terms of like the big signings that people are making, it's like, oh, the big defensive signing in the West was bringing back James and Olave. That's not true. I mean, the Timbers have actually been making some very positive changes in the back line, but people are very clearly focusing on attacking, and we are going to be, the North American Eredivisie. It's just going to be a who needs defense kind of thing, and those are the teams that are going to, and the teams that have good chemistry in the back are going to be the ones that rise. In fact, if and when we get around to talking about LA, I think that's going to be the only thing that takes them into the playoffs is continuity in the back.
So, Michael, one last question before we let you go.
Sure.
Now that we can talk about cool things like the games and the season and the supporters and stuff, I know there's been 1 or 2 issues with the Orlando supporters group, particularly in incidents up in Carolina and with Tampa and Atlanta. How is that going to hold up over the year, and what actions are being taken to rein that in?
Well, I think, obviously the Tampa issue was probably the biggest one that's happened, and there were some people in jail and that kind of thing. And there was definitely some stuff put in place by the club to kind of limit that. And so I think that they're still abiding by those things. And so, going into the new era, or whatever you want to call it, those things are still in place. So, I mean, from that aspect, I think that they kind of know what to expect. And if that doesn't happen, there's going to be some consequences that they have to pay. But at the same time, I do think that, there's obviously a potential for maybe some further issues, because obviously in Carolina there was, that was what, they stole some flags or something. I mean, something minor. But, they obviously, be clear too, it's a small segment within the groups that are kind of participating in those over-the-top issues. So I wouldn't, necessarily say that it's not something that you're going to see again, but I also would say that it's something that the club definitely has plans for, as far as, whatever sanctions they need to take, whether that be barring that particular group, or specifically probably those particular people, which they're known, they know who they are. So I don't know if that really answers your question, but I think that they're very cognizant of the impression that they're giving, especially being new in the league, and how that's going to work. So
well, the FO for their part seemed to be coming down in a way that makes a little bit of sense. I think that they also know, because of the incredibly tone-deaf NYCFC front office, that they kind of know what they have when it comes to their support, and they don't want to alienate them right off the bat. So they might be letting them off a little bit easy, but also allowing them to kind of self-police in a way that they probably wouldn't say 5 years from now.
Yeah. Well, and then and I think that they're a lot more involved with the leadership of the group. There's like 2 groups in particular. That they're more involved with that leadership than maybe some. I really can't say, but then I would expect some of the other clubs out there might be, as far as directives and having kind of a direct contact with those people on a more regular basis. So I don't know. I mean, I'm hopeful that it can be something that we don't become known for down here, as but at the same time, becoming known for having great supporters, because I think that's part of what makes, for example, Portland or Seattle or whatever, makes those areas great is those groups. So hopefully we can kind of become, just another one of those areas that people are known for having great supporters, and continue to sell out games and make it a place that is good for MLS and not another Tampa Bay situation.
Very true.
Good. Yeah, good to hear. Yeah, and we'll touch more on that when our eventual, whenever that happens, supporter summit thing does happen. But yeah, thank you so much, Michael, for coming on. CitySoccerTalk.com. You have a Twitter, I presume?
Yeah, just at City Soccer Talk. Basically, I tweet there most of the time, so you can find us on Twitter. You can find us on the website, and obviously, thanks for having me on. I appreciate the time, and you guys have a good night. We have soccer this weekend.
Woo! Yeah.
All right, guys. Take care.
Take it easy.
You too.
All right. Thank you, Michael. After the break, we're going to come back. We're going to open my tiers, and later we're going to have the savior of the CBA, the Duke 282. He will be on the podcast, and I guess the third half. And yeah.
A third half.
You know it. Oh, and Ben Olsen just got ejected, by the way.
Oh, shit.
And people are fighting, and someone got a yellow card. Yeah. Anyway. More
Lots of professionalism
later.
all around.
Yes.
More after the break.
Yes. Sweet. All right.
Is somebody taking stock of the timestamps so that we could say break here?
I mean...
No, maybe later. Maybe another time. Maybe next time.
I'm second, so I don't have the stuff that happened before I showed up, so I only have like my own time.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
27 minutes into my time is when we took this break.
Yeah.
Well, he'll know because that's when Michael's ends. So,
That's true. Yes, that's a good point.
yeah. So we're good. We're good. Okay.
So we have somebody else coming on, Ian?
Yeah, Flowers guy.
Flowers guy. Oh, that's
Yep.
awesome.
Yeah. So is he somebody that we have right now, or can we like talk and then he'll come on for like 5 minutes and we'll be like, tell us the saga of it?
Yeah.
Because that's probably something that's going to be pretty quick.
Yeah, and
sure.
I'd like to get some time on the tiers. So
Absolutely, I am actually very interested in this concept,
It's always-
especially since yours and Josh's are so different,
Yeah,
except
it's
for the
always
bottom.
an argument.
Yeah. We started doing that last year, and it was a lot of fun. And it was basically everybody argue with Ian about why he's wrong. Except do recognize that you guys were actually pretty nice about it. It was pretty fun and awesome. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I have no problem telling you why you're wrong, so that's cool.
So suck. I gotta tell you guys, the new job schedule is not permanent and will hopefully be changing, but it's ruining my soccer life. I've been so fucking excited for this season, and I would like nothing better on Saturday and Sunday than to just watch nonstop soccer. But I will be working both days from 1 to 11 p.m. and
Oof.
I'm just gonna miss everything. I'm not gonna go to my own home opener. Like, fuck, man, it's brutal.
Well, you're going to be making some serious bank doing that, so.
Yes, I am. But I literally this week, like 2 days ago, got a brand new 60-inch television, and I want to watch soccer like this big so badly. And fuck, man, it's killing me. It's killing me.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be using my illness as a way of clearing my schedule, so all I'm going to be doing is watching soccer all weekend.
Well, so I will probably send out an email to all of us, but I will once again be subscribing to MLS Live and have every intention of, at minimum, watching condensed matches. So go ahead and leave me off any like during game threads.
Okay. Yeah, we'll figure something out. Okay, so shall we get back into this?
Yeah. Oh, what's the deal with this guy, Ian? You still have to like track him down, so we should just start and bring him in at the end.
Let's start. I literally just emailed him, but we've exchanged Reddit messages, so he's down. We just gotta get email details set up, and I will make that happen as we talk about the tiers.
Perfect.
Yeah, let's do that.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. So, Ian, why don't you tell us a little bit about the thinking that goes in behind this six-tiered TIER, not his own actual tiers,
Which might happen.
Yeah,
later.
based on your levels, you definitely are predicting some tiers for DCU.
Yes, yeah, he is indeed. So why don't you tell us the philosophy around how you put this together?
So basically, I start out with 5 tiers of 4 teams, and then I fill those out, and then I'm like, you know what? These guys don't really fit together. This team is a little bit better than that other team, and so I parse it out, and I end up with 6 of varying sizes, 3 or 4, a little less crazy than last year, because last year it was 4, 5, 6, and 4. Only 4 tiers, so...
Yeah, I was going to say, for those people that have been listening since last year, this was a 4-tiered system that we argued about last year.
But since we're moving up in the world, it's moved up to 6 because it cannot contain all this analysis. Like, no, I get it.
And extra teams to analyze.
Yeah,
right.
So,
yeah,
well,
that too.
And 1 fewer. But yeah, it was fun putting Chivas in the second lowest tier instead of the lowest tier. But
you know what, Ian? Every year you and I predict that Chivas is going to have a better year than they do. I kept being like, they're going to get the 5th seed. They're going to sneak in the back door. And
I can pretty confidently say this year that they're not going to make the playoffs.
Unfortunately, despite their best efforts, yeah.
I'll take that bet.
Okay. So
the return of El Chalice, 2015.
So basically, what we have here. I'm going to go bottom to top. Tier 6, Cellar Dwellers, the teams that are going to suck. And I got 3 out of 4 of these last year correct. And they were Montreal, Chicago, Dallas, and San Jose. And they, the teams that weren't Dallas were indeed really bad. Yep. So I have a track record, sort of, kind of.
You heard it here, proven track record.
Now, yes. Is this a gut feeling thing, or are you actually following these teams making moves in the off season?
So what I did is I've read every Matt Doyle blurb on these guys. I've read every RMLS preview of these teams, except for the ones that aren't up yet, which is Toronto and Vancouver. And, I remember how they played the last 10 games of last year, which ended up being kind of important at the beginning of last season. So, yeah. Bottom tier, the very last, Colorado, Chicago, and Houston. I call them the Cellar Dwellers. Tier 5, almost competitive, Philadelphia, San Jose, and the Red Bulls. Tier 4, playoff contenders, DC, Orlando, New York City FC, and RSL. Tier 3, the unproven paper contenders, Toronto, Kansas City, and Montreal. Tier 2, 1 piece away, LA, Vancouver, and Portland. And up at Tier 1, the title contenders, the teams I expect to win trophies, Dallas, New England, Columbus, and Seattle.
Okay. So here's my first question.
Yeah.
How on earth do you figure that New York is going to the Red Bulls are going to tumble quite that far down?
Well, because the rest of the league got a little bit better, and New York got kind of a lot worse.
A lot worse. Okay. So do you just mean in the firing of Petke, or is just Thierry Henry just that important?
Well, I thought he was the MVP last year.
And Hymus and Olave, if we're talking about pieces they miss.
Right, and that was
Olave, but that was smart. Olave was done. Like I think RSL is going to be.
I don't think they replace him with anybody who's better.
That's the difference. Is not that Hymus and Olave was going to be like the defender of the year, but just they didn't do anything to get better by replacing him.
Now they went out and got this international dude who played in France or something, and that works sometimes. But as we know from last year, we picked up this guy who played in La Liga. Christian, he was our left back, and he was terrible. He was so bad that a second-year number 17 overall pick beat him out for the left back spot at DC. So maybe it'll work. Maybe it won't. I just
I gotta say a midfield trio of Kleshton, Dax is who I was actually mistaking that with, and Felipe is really good. Like that's a team that could get that's a midfield three like that could get shit done.
Well, that's true, but there are a lot of teams who have impressive name combinations that aren't going to be very good. Like look at Houston on the bottom. I think a lot of people think Houston probably isn't going to make the playoffs, but they still have Brad Davis and Will Bruin. They are still going to have Cubo Torres coming in at the latter half of the season.
Wait, you're making the argument for Houston while you have them in your cellar dwellers category?
No.
I'm
saying that
every team has an impressive set of names that they can throw at me and say this is why we're going to be good.
Sure.
But what I'm saying is that like when I look at those two guys, I see a team that's going to have an awful lot of the ball, and New York has never had a problem scoring. I still think that BWP is not going to get 27 goals again, but he might get 13, 15.
Yeah.
And and if you have a guy like that on your team, you're going to do well. And if you can consistently get the ball at his feet in a place where he wants it, he can do well.
If you can generate goals from the midfield is going to be their big one, because if you're dropping 12, 14 goals off of BWP, then yeah, you've got to have your midfielder scoring.
Yeah, right, and I think that's I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I think that's what we're going to see from Kleshton. That's what we're going to see from Felipe.
Potentially. And I think Marsh is very confident with his ability to do things with Felipe, and I can't say I disagree with him. I think Marsh is very much an underrated coach. I think he gets a bad rap. I mean, he's the best coach Montreal ever had.
Is really what it is. I mean, he's. I think a lot of people sort of still look at him as an unknown. He only has the one season at the helm of an MLS team, and it didn't go great. Obviously, it went worse when he left, but
I think it went well. I mean, he was coaching an expansion team. And they put together the third best expansion season in MLS history. So
and they did it playing like an extremely exciting, organized, attacking football. Like they were fun to watch. They were one of my favorite teams of his year. So yeah, I agree with you. But that's also part of the reason why I don't think that they're going to have such a drop off in quality.
Well, when I look at who their backliners are going to be, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be any good, and that's kind of important in MLS.
But I see that everywhere, but all over the Eastern Conference as just shitty defense after shitty defense.
Well,
I mean, it's like, who's the best defender in the East?
Bobby Boswell.
Yeah. Okay. Bobby Boswell, Maurice Edu, maybe, right?
He's not going to be in the back line anymore.
Oh, I think he will be, because who else? Like, and then like Colon, right? Maybe, but after coming off like a particularly shitty year for him, it's defense. I don't think is going to be as important in this league this year, and I think that it's really going to be particularly unimportant in the East for exactly the sort of thing that we were talking about before. Like teams are going to be winning 2-3, 4-3. Well, maybe not 4-3, but people are going to be. There's going to be a lot of multi-goal games this year. For both teams playing.
So would you say that your prediction is that the overall amount of goals scored compared to last year will be higher?
Yeah, and that's even after the goals scored was an astronomical leap from the one before it.
Right.
I mean, it's like in 2013 there were something like 5-6 guys with double-digit goals. Last year it was like 18. It was crazy. I mean, think about the number of guys last year who had double seasons. You know what I mean?
And you had guys that were close. Lamar Nagel went 9-9.
9-9. Yeah, and he would be the third guy on their team to have done so. Yeah. Because Demsa and Oba both had double seasons. Keane had a double season. Donovan had a double season.
Yeah.
Henri, it's
Keane. Yeah, you said Keane. Yeah.
God, I almost want to look them all up, but because it's huge, and so I think that trend is going to continue. And I think
Well,
that part of that is
well-
because of more attacking talent, but I also think that the defense is dropping off.
So let's
our
keep
league.
talking
So-
tiers
so-
then. So
So
we kind of
so
jump.
the defense is right. So the defense is dropping off, but I can look at all these other teams in the East, and I can name at least one player who might contend and be an all-star. Like, they probably won't be, but I could see them being named all-stars, and I just don't see a center back on this New York team who could do that. And
Okay.
and
Okay.
that's why I have them as low as I do.
Okay. Well, let's move on.
Yeah, so just and to back Ian up a little bit, Josh also did his own 6-tiered system, and he also has the Red Bulls in Tier 5 in the almost
He does.
competitive. So we kind of skipped over the cellar dwellers. Ian, you've got
We did,
Colorado,
actually, yes,
Chicago, and Houston. Josh has Colorado, Chicago, and San Jose. I'm a little more inclined to follow Josh. I don't know that Houston is going to be incredible, but I don't see them being bottom 3 in the league.
Okay.
It's kind of tough. I mean, I do have a standing policy to never bet against Dom. Like, I would never really put Dom Kinnear on the bottom, even though Houston had a pretty shit season this past year. But so it's hard for me to put San Jose down there for essentially that reason and that reason alone. The problem with Houston is that we have no idea whatsoever what kind of game Owen Coyle is going to be playing.
Yeah.
I really just didn't like that hiring. I think
You didn't?
not
Are
at
you
all.
just kind of against? Are you sort of against from hiring from outside the league at this point?
No, I think the perfect hire for that was the guy who was just running Chivas, or the guy who ran Chivas before, Martin Chavez or Chelis, because this is a team very soon.
3-4-3, 8 seconds without the ball, Chalise. Like, you think that would have done well for Houston? Sorry, I'm sorry.
I think it's better for Houston that the direction that they're going. It seems like with the players that they brought in, and I'm going to pull them up in a second right here. They're bringing in Cubo Torres. They brought in a couple of people from Central America and South America, I think. And when you bring in an English guy to coach in all those people, that's not maximizing their potential.
Okay, so who? I mean, I guess I would ask who from within the league, who from outside the league do you think would do well in MLS?
You know who I didn't hear get talked about, and maybe it's because he had no interest in moving, but after the season that they had, I would think that teams that were in need of a coach might have gone after Preki from the Sac Republic.
That guy's been fired so many times, it's kind of shocking to me. His teams always do well. Chivas did fine with him. Chivas did fine with him. Toronto had their best. The closest thing that they've ever had to success was under Preki.
Yeah, I'm shocked that he never really got talked about in circles in the off season, and maybe that's because he sees Sac Republic as having a strong bid. They won the championship. He wants to move up organically, but I feel like money talks.
Yeah, right. Well, and speaking of guys from the UK, I mean, I still wonder why nobody ever thought that Gary Smith would ever be a good hire. Gary Smith, who won an MLS Cup with Colorado, with a team that fell off a cliff immediately, a team
that shouldn't have been in the MLS Cup.
Right. I mean, granted, if they were playing literally anybody but Dallas that year, they probably would have lost. But
yes, agreed.
But they have that star, and they have it because of him, and that's something that's very difficult to argue against. But
so the reason I bring up Chavez and Chelis is I'm looking at the people who are going to be important to this Houston team, and I see Raul Rodriguez, Leonel Miranda, Oscar Bonilla Garcia, Cubo Torres.
So you just want a guy who can speak Spanish? I mean, I'm sorry.
Luis Garrido. I mean, not necessarily, but this team, those players, that backbone begs for someone who can bring something of a Latin flair to your team. And I'm sorry, but I don't think the guy who used to coach Bolton is that guy.
I'm not sure I agree with that. Houston is one of the classic old school work rate teams because that's what Dom built it to be.
Yes.
And I think that spirit is definitely there. And I mean, I hate to be that guy who talks about like national styles in terms of soccer, but like that's what the Scottish do. Like that is their whole purpose in life.
But they don't really have the players.
Are these hard? I mean, they are Scottish players and coaches are the Americans of Europe. Like they are hardworking bargains.
They have elements of that, but they don't. That's not their backbone anymore. The guys that are left who do that are, I guess you could say, DeMarcus Beasley, Brad Davis, Ricardo Clark, Will Bruin. But DeMarcus Beasley played in the Mexican League for 10 years. So that's a style that he's very familiar with.
Okay. I don't know. I think I don't think it'll be quite that disastrous.
I don't think it'll be disastrous. I just think it's not maximizing your potential from Houston.
Well, yeah. Unfortunately, it's very difficult to talk about it that much, just because it's so up in the air. Probably more so with them than it is for anybody else.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think that they are one of the teams that has the biggest range of possibilities this season.
Yeah, they are a mystery in a way that even the expansion teams are.
Well, I'm not sure if I would say that, but yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let's jump up a level to almost competitive. We talked about New York, but what about Philly and San Jose? So San Jose, they obviously came off a tire fire year, and so you're just sort of imagining them clawing their way out of that, and I would agree with that.
Yeah,
so,
I like Tommy Thompson. I looked up and down that starting lineup, and I like a lot of it. And I like Dom Kinnear. And let's see if I can pull up their projected starting lineup. I just thought it was pretty much MLS above average across the board, and that's something I'm always a fan of. When we did that last year, it worked out great. So
yeah. Well, I still think that they definitely need creativity in a way that they don't really have coming out of the midfield, which is something that they keep trying to find a guy to kind of replace the role that Simon Dawkins played in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
Where just a guy who can, I mean, Simon Dawkins isn't necessarily creative, but the guy could pass in a way that a lot of other, that nobody else, that they've never really been able to replace, I mean to say. Yeah,
that was close.
And DC just came
pretty that was close. Oh, god damn it. Fucking god damn it.
Just two more. They have 40 minutes, man. That's they got some time. Plus stoppage.
So the biggest reason I like this roster is, and I know I said before not to fall too much in love with player groupings that sound good, but we talked earlier about how defense is going to be so much of a focus this year with all the attacking talent coming in.
Yes.
San Jose,
and they actually have a pretty good center back pairing. Yeah.
They do. I'm a big fan of Bernard and Goodson, and I think
me too.
That's probably top 5 MLS, if
Agreed.
not top 3, and that gives you a really good chance to win some soccer games.
Absolutely, and yeah, that's part of the reason why I would again, philosophically and on paper, would think about ranking them higher, especially with somebody like Dom Kinnear, who has very organized defenses. But at the same time, it's very hard to imagine that team scoring at a ridiculous clip. Wondolowski playing injured notwithstanding, you still need to get the ball at his feet, and I don't think that they're really going to be able to do that very much this year.
Yeah, and it's also hard in the West, because
and they're playing in the West, yeah, which is a meat grinder.
In my tiers, they're 8th in the West, but they're below the team that's right up above them is RSL. And they're 7th, and there are a lot of teams that are, there are a lot of good teams out west.
And okay, so what has Philly not done to get them higher?
Honestly, I look at this as sort of a I'm rating them higher than a lot of people. I think a lot of people think Philly's gonna suck.
I think people think that because Philly sucked last year, which I actually think is an unfair assessment. I think it's odd that they're probably, for me, the biggest underachievers in the league. Like, they're They're absolutely a team that should be playing better than they are. But
Agreed.
the thing is, though, is that I think I would actually sort of think of them as kind of a one piece away sort of thing. It's just that a lot of that is going to be maximizing Latu and getting the most out of their goal scorers, which, granted, are not amazing, but they're not bad. I mean, Connor Casey probably done, but Andrew Wenger I think is ready for a benchmark year. Yep. I really do.
And you're exactly dead on that they are underperforming. Like, talent level to performance has been low. Their capabilities, their ceiling is significantly higher than the level at which they have been playing. And if they can meet the potential of the talent on field and play like a unit, and like you said, if he goes out and has a landmark year, I could see them now. I mean, at the same time, I can see them circling the drain and fucking it up because they're Philly. But
their equivalent in the West is Portland. You know, it's like Portland should be playing better, but it's like 2013 Portland were nightmares. Yeah. You know.
Yeah. So I disagree with that because I think Portland's front office actually has a semblance of they know what they're doing.
Okay.
And that's a huge thing that I hit on last year that I haven't talked so much about this year is that. And if there is doubt, I give the benefit of the doubt to the team that I think has the more competent front office. That's why I have New York so low, by the way, is because, for obvious reasons, their front office just fired Mike Petke. Yeah. I am not convinced that Philly knows what they're doing. They've run some good signings. They have Aris Gieto. I don't know how to say his name. I don't also care either. That's a goal kick. It's nothing.
Oh.
They're not going to call that a penalty, are they?
I think they just did.
No, they didn't.
I don't.
Doesn't look like it.
No, I don't think so.
I thought he pointed to the spot, but maybe it was just the kick.
Oh yeah. Oh wow. Taking advantage of that splash to try and cover it up again. But yes, goal kick. No, I think that's a very fair point. Talking about front offices.
So basically,
part of the reason when you look at something like LA, once they got their shit together, all of a sudden they're in the playoffs every year. They're title contenders every year.
Yeah.
And when you put that in with the level of talent that they can afford, you have a team like that. And I think that's something that like the Sounders have finally done. I think that's something that RSL proved that a great front office can take what should be a mediocre team and make them a nightmare team for everybody else in the league. So yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and when you have a pretty good offseason instead of a really impressive offseason like Toronto and Montreal had, when you just have a pretty good offseason, then I still need a little bit of proof before I'm ready to anoint you possible playoff team.
Okay.
Well, that's a great transition because I'm really excited to talk about the next tier. Tier 4.
Playoff contenders, yeah.
Playoff contenders.
Because this will be definitely the battleground.
I think so too. So Ian has this listed as DC, which is quite a drop from last year. Not tier system, but where they actually played. Orlando and New York, the two new teams, and then RSL, which I feel like perennially belongs in this tier.
Really, you don't think that they belong higher usually?
I mean, 4 years ago, maybe.
Well, I mean, come on, they made the playoffs last year, and as a very quick aside, your what if from a few weeks ago is what if Landon Donovan goes to the World Cup, and I'm sure you would have wanted me to say LA doesn't win the cup, Seattle does, but you're half right because LA doesn't win the cup, RSL does.
Yeah,
because here's the thing, the two teams that they would have had to go up against after they beat LA would be Seattle and then New England, two teams that attack very hard up the middle, and that is the place where RSL is the most solid. With the exception of the last goal that LA scored, they were torn apart on the wings. And that's something that Seattle can do sometimes. That's something that New England can do sometimes. But, I mean, I think they would have been hammered and completely stymied by them. And
even if I give you the benefit of the doubt that they beat Seattle, they travel to New England and lose.
Hey guys, Chris Rolfe coming back from CBA negotiations to play in a CCL game against Alajuelense. coming after Chris Paul.
I'm sure he didn't get out of his suit and into his thing to come in late to play, but
no, he did. He did. They had a tweet like 3 or 4 hours ago that he was leaving the negotiations to go down to
okay.
the
No, what
stadium.
I'm saying is that it's not like he left and then showed up. Like he was there when the game started.
I kind of think of it like Superman. I think he had his kit.
Like he had his on underneath.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Okay, but all right. But still, okay, sure. You could make the argument that they would lose at Foxborough.
But listen, that's not the argument that we're making. We should talk about playoff contenders this year.
But that's exactly what I'm saying. Is that but the point that I wanted to make about RSL is that if they belong in this tier, which judging on the leaps that other teams have made, they probably do. Because it's sort of what Ian was saying about New York. Like everybody else got a lot better, and they got just a little bit worse. I will say RSL is a team that manages to make it happen, but they were eviscerated by the expansion draft. So it's tough to really see them like coming out of losing very specifically
Nat Borchers.
Nat Borchers and Chris Winger.
Nat Borchers
like those are
probably
is João Plata injured for like the first 2 months or something? Isn't there something?
Definitely he's going to be missing games, but it's kind of like Diego Valeri. Like they're not sure how long he's going to be.
And Javi is another year older, and
yes,
I am
and
not.
Velasquez is now also with NYC, so it's tough to think about them repeating their performance.
Yeah, I still see them competing for 5th and 6th seeds. I don't see them down at the bottom of the West, but they're not going to have an easy road.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like they still have. I mean, Jameson Olave coming back. I know I was shitting on him before, but like him plus Chris Schuler, that's a pairing I can get behind.
And arguably the best goalie in MLS history. I mean,
yeah,
and with Nick Ramon,
he is
not. That's a different conversation.
That's another discussion.
Is there another candidate in your mind? Is it Portman? You're wrong.
2 or 3, yeah.
We can have a goalie discussion on another day if we need.
Actually, you know what? That would actually be kind of fascinating because as Devin Pueller was saying when he was on the show, goalkeepers are very difficult to assess, and I think we could do a half hour on that very easily.
Well,
Casey Keller wasn't here long enough to get the nod.
So here's how you assess it. Nick Raimondo is the reason that RSL...
Wait. We just agreed we're not going to have this discussion.
Okay, fine.
We have 4 more tiers to get through.
Yeah, right. Okay, well, so RSL has been pretty well covered. Let's talk about DC. What makes you think that DC is going to have that big drop-off?
I don't know.
Eddie Johnson gets more playing time? Is that the problem?
I'm just...
They still pay Eddie Johnson?
It's a cautious optimist. It's a cynic thing. It's a.
You're erring on the side of caution.
Yeah, because that's what I did last year. Because we'd made some solid moves. I was really happy with everybody that we brought in. Espindola, Franklin, Boswell.
Your back line in particular.
Eddie Johnson, yeah.
You made some great moves along the back line. I'm surprised Jeff Park didn't work out better. I know he got old, but.
Well, Birnbaum took over, and that's what we wanted to have happen.
And he looked great. He looked absolutely great doing it.
Yeah, that was the dream scenario. Was that Birnbaum eventually took over as the guy next to Boswell, and that's exactly what happened. So that's great. I just we didn't make many moves in the offseason, and that's fine. That's actually kind of good sometimes. LA has gone year after year not making that many moves, not improving that much.
Yeah. We brought in exactly one guy this offseason.
Bringing in a depth guy.
I don't even remember who he is. Yeah.
Right.
So outside of draftees, of course.
Right. And we draft well. Our last 6 first-round draft picks are starters. Many of them have played on all-star teams. A few of them have played on the national team. So, it's one of those slow but steady move forwards, and I think we'll be competitive. I think we'll be the 4 seed. I just I don't see this team competing for a title. I don't know.
Not
Maybe,
even like Open Cup title?
I don't want to get into the Open Cup. Whoever wins the Open Cup is completely random.
Yeah, well, the Open Cup is won entirely by the person who cares about it, like, earlier than everybody else. Like, LA, they clearly say it's like...
You have to have depth.
That's true, and that is a thing that we have now. We have kind of significant depth, which is really good because we have a lot of weird forward stuff at the beginning of the year. Like Espinola is going to be out for 6 weeks. Silva is out for however long. Eddie Johnson has a weird heart thing that who knows if he's ever going to play soccer again.
You know, also, I'm really curious how, with so many teams having their USL affiliates now, and the U.S. Open Cup has the rules, excuse me, where if you play for a team, you're locked in for the tournament.
You get cup tied. Yeah.
So we're so used to seeing guys that would typically be playing at the USL level playing for the first team in the early rounds of the Cup because, you know, it's a Wednesday game in between a Saturday and a Sunday game or whatever. And so I think that we're gonna see that depth tested a lot more this year, depending on where the guys play their first game.
Well, it's also really tough because they haven't announced. They said that they were going to be changing the way players can move between those teams, and we haven't really heard exactly how that's going to work yet. Despite the fact that we are 2 days away from, at time of recording, 2 days away from the MLS season starting, and just a couple of weeks away from the USL season starting, which starts March 22nd.
21st, yeah, 22nd.
21st.
21st is the Saturday.
Okay, 22nd is Los Dos' first game. So
got it. Okay.
And that's really when it begins.
Well, I would argue that it begins when the champions play, which would be the 21st. I would think.
I'm sure I don't know what you mean. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with that because the only test case that we have right now is LA, and traditionally, they've always played, you know, their youngins in the Open Cup, and that's usually why they go out so early. Now, that's not what happened last year, but again, I don't know what anyone's talking about with that.
Who did Los Dos play? If they play the youngins in the, I guess they didn't because they played their regulars against the Railhawks.
Right.
That's
yeah.
right.
So, so Galaxy 2 were basically made up of the Galaxy Open Cup team from previous years.
Yeah,
or at least the most important pieces. A lot of them were new. A lot of them were guys who had never played at the Galaxy organization at any level. But but yeah, including Andre Ores, who we might actually be seeing getting first team minutes, which is very interesting to me. He's a decent D mid, which is going to be a position of need for LA because now. Oh God, I have no idea what our central midfield's going to look like this year. Oh, I'm so sad. But back to the conversation at hand. So DC, mostly caution, but you don't think that the continuity is going to work out well for you guys?
I think it'll work out fine. I just don't know if
the forward situation is different. Yeah.
No, that's not what I'm worried about. I'm worried that what we did last year isn't sustainable. That's what I'm worried about the most.
How does Bill Hamid look compared to last year?
Better.
I mean, he looks. Sample size is being small, and this being the only game he's really played this year. He looks fine. I
don't mean right now. I'm saying big picture. How do you see him playing this year? Because I agree with James. I think he'll be even better. I think he's going to be, absolutely at the top of the candidates for the keeper of the year.
Yeah, I think so too. And he was one of the big reasons why we outperformed the expected goals model. They're just fouling us left and right. Literally every 30 seconds, they're tripping us up.
This is the classic getting CONCACAF, Ian. You're watching it. You think it's bad now? Wait till the stretchers come out.
Yeah, they don't do persistent infringement fouls outside of MLS, man.
No.
Or persistent infringement cards, excuse me.
Wait for like the 75th minute. It's going to get real interesting.
Yeah, but since we are running low on time, let's say to move on. Expansion teams. I think that putting them like right smack dab in the middle is kind of a good place for them. On paper, they look real good, but they're a new team. None of them have played together generally, with the exception of a few guys on NYCFC. So it's very difficult to be able to predict their performance, and I don't really
just
think it's going to
catch
go
it?
particularly. The ref blew the whistle.
Oh, okay.
But yes, he did.
Yeah, he
I
did.
was about to be like pretty excited, like whatever.
Like the most blatant handball since Marta in the Women's World Cup, right?
Something like,
Oh!
For those listening at home, header off the post.
No, I don't think we have much more to say about Orlando and New
Connor
York.
Doyle. I forgot he played for you guys.
We've covered Orlando and New York the entire offseason. I think that right in the middle of the pack, playoff contenders is fair. So let's move up to Tier 3.
Actually, before we do that, we are going to bring on. Sorry, Pete.
Oh.
I'm
So
going.
last bit of CBA.
Yes, I'm going to go ahead and invite username. What's his name? The Duke 282. He is otherwise known as Flower Guy. He is the savior of the CBA. We're going to bring him on for a few minutes to talk about his story and his moment of RMLS reverence after the break. Alright, I'm going to invite the dude. The dude's email is...
Quick CBA update. MLS Soccer has broken the silence.
Finally, has finally actually said something about it. Yeah, I got the notification on my phone. I was gonna be like, breaking news! MLS is finally,
admitting that there was even a problem, and now the problem has been solved.
Yeah. God, I want to read the story. Like, are they even saying anything of substance?
No, not at all. Basically, it's just Garber saying we're pleased that it's done. Lots of momentum. New York and Orlando, 60,000 people, which I really think had a big impact. It'll platform, concluding negotiations. Yeah, nothing at all. I think they've said that tomorrow they'll have an announcement regarding details.
Right. Yeah. Nothing. No words.
No
like
specifics of
tension. Nope. No, not even mentioning that it's late.
Nope, not at all.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well.
So Brooke tweeted out, Garber offered no details on CBA and said there'd be a press availability tomorrow to discuss them. So we'll get the specifics tomorrow, but it's done. Everybody's happy. Well, everybody's reasonably happy. It's over. That's what matters.
And we are reasonably certain that is due to the efforts of a man who sent the flowers.
Yeah. I mean, there's already been an article written about it.
Yeah. Hey, so whatever it is that this offense is kind of... Oh, God.
Oh, the dagger.
Son of a...
The dagger.
So remember how I said...
so shitty. I hate seeing teams that play like this. Oh, fucking CONCACAF.
Yeah.
God, they're the worst.
This is the reason why I don't think we're going to do so great this year.
Because this is essentially a preseason match. It doesn't count. LA lost to Toronto at this exact stage.
And Montreal beat a Mexican team. How about that?
Yeah, right. Like LA lost to Toronto and then went on to win the cup. Like that same year. That was in 2012. Oh God, that's heartbreaking. A deflection.
Yeah, that's tough.
Oh, that sucks.
Well,
all right.
I'm sorry, man.
Time to bring on the fire bombs. Fucking just go to town.
Just gonna go ahead and turn that off there.
No, fuck that. I'm watching the most epic comeback in CONCACAF history.
There you go. Yeah.
Push Hamid up. He's gonna get a header off a corner.
It's gonna be like Jorge Campos, right? Where he's like, "Fuck it, I'm a striker now."
Yeah, exactly. Ian, you cut off our very nice discussion. Where is this guy?
What?
Where's Duke?
I will email him again. Or I will invite
Does he know to be on Google Plus to be able to get the notification to join the chat? I know that's confusing sometimes. Didn't we say we were going to put together an email for guests that had like all the
instructions?
Yeah, I think Austin was actually going to do that, and then I never heard anything.
Yeah, Austin. What have you done for us
Austin, I hope you're listening right now. All your free hard work is not paying off.
Yeah, God. You know, of all of the people who aren't showing enough dedication to this podcast, clearly he is the one who is most
all of the people. We all
we have a
take turns
Farfan
not showing
sighting.
enough
I
dedication.
forgot to talk about Farfan.
Oh my God, Marfan, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that's really good for Philly. They got rid of both of the Farfans.
Oh,
Hey, can you guys hear me?
We can, yes.
we
Just
got
trying
the
to get
Duke.
to a place where the dogs won't harass me.
Yeah, you just let us know when you are settled, and we will introduce you.
Ian, that's on you.
Sounds good.
Oh, stupid spare bedroom. Where's the outlets? On the phone too much today. Battery's dead. Okay, that's
Didn't
good
think
enough.
you were going to have a media day today, did you?
Yeah, right.
No, this whole thing is taking on legs of its own. I don't know what happened.
Well, hopefully through reconstructing the event, we can find out.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and start. I don't want to do the clapping thing. I'll figure it out. I've resigned myself to editing this together because this is too much for Austin.
Okay.
So yeah, welcome. Username Duke282. Is that right? I keep having to look back at it because it's
It's the Duke
282.
282, but close enough.
The Duke. Yeah.
So you are you've gone down in RMLS history.
Yes, he will forever be tagged in RES as Flower Guy.
As Flower Guy. So, so
Oh,
Flower Guy,
the
tell
nicknames.
us your story.
The story was basically I was at watching the Liverpool game at lunch on my iPad and checked out the thread on RMLS about the CBA negotiations just to see what wasn't going on with them because news was slow all day. And then someone on there said, hey, we should send them a pizza or something. And then someone else suggested flowers, and I thought about it for a minute, and I said, shit, I can send them flowers. So
How did you know where to send it?
And found a place that could do same-day delivery, but because I'm West Coast and they're all the way out on the East Coast, I had about 40 minutes to make the decision of whether or not just to do it. So I decided to pull the trigger, sent the flowers. They called me, verified all the details.
Now, where did you find the details? Where did you get the information?
Yeah, how did you
Somebody,
know where to
somebody
even...
posted it to the thread. Someone posted the address of the building they were meeting in.
What?
And then,
Best docs ever.
and then
Tell me,
we tried to figure out what room, because we figured we'd need a room address. But it was getting down to the wire of whether or not it could be same-day delivery. So just decided to put second floor. Because we knew it was second floor from Windowgate last night. Apparently someone was reporting of players walking around watching from outside through a window on the second floor.
Right.
that was Aaron Stoller. I remember following. Last night was crazy.
Last night was crazy. I was up until 2 a.m. Pacific time.
Oh, biggest social media day in MLS since Dempsey Watch.
Yeah, agreed.
So what made you do it? Why did you just decide to be the guy that was going to end the CBA negotiation?
Yeah, because
And
clearly
thank
that
you, by the
was
way.
the deciding factor. Obviously,
It was
this is not a
successful.
dispute.
We're all very happy and we appreciate it.
I'm happy that it worked out. I couldn't have planned it better if I had tried to.
So, who actually ended up accepting it?
I have no idea.
So yeah, you just got a
The
call from
delivery guy called
They
me
said they
from
took
security. What's that?
So the delivery guy just called you and said, "Hey, somebody came down and grabbed it."
Oh no, he called me from security and said, "Can you come down and get your flowers?" And I had to tell him, like, I'm not in the building and I don't know anyone who is. So I went into backup plan mode and I thought, well, okay, can you leave the flowers at the security desk? And I thought, get the power of Reddit and we'll just harass all the reporters there until one of them goes down to get it. And then he said the security desk couldn't even hold them. Like, they could not take the flowers and just hold them for 5 minutes.
Right.
So I, just said, that sucks. Take a picture of them out front of the building if you can with the card open. And then, I thought we'll just blast that all over the internet. And then at least we'd know what the flowers looked like, because it didn't even end up being a half dozen red roses. They were sold out of those. It was a floral mix. They couldn't tell me what it was going to be. Just it'll look nice, they said. So then the delivery guy calls me back 5 minutes later. I'm waiting for the picture, and he says, I kept asking around, and I found someone to take them in. They're delivered.
Yes.
So they got delivered, but we don't know what they look like, and that's the sad part of the whole story.
Do we have we seen any tweets from any reporters or anything like that have talked about it, or just
I haven't seen anything. I don't know what happened. I don't know if the reporters are beyond security in it's like the Federal Mediation Building. So I don't know if the reporters have access to that, or if it's just league officials.
God, I would love to see. God, I can't wait for some random player to just be like, "And what the fuck was up with those flowers?"
Yeah, some player has to have taken a picture of that, and I promise it'll be on Instagram and Twitter soon. Like it's
I
not.
hope so. I hope so.
Yeah.
I just love the physical confirmation of not only were they delivered, but they found their way to the destination.
I know, that's kind of amazing. Yeah.
And I saw, so I was paying attention here to the live thread today, and I saw that there was already an article written about this a few hours ago. Did you actually talk to the media? Have you been fielding phone calls, or what's been going on in that regard?
They reached out to another Reddit user who had tweeted about the whole thing, taken a screen capture and tweeted it, and that tweet blew up. So they reached out to them, and they were kind enough to pass it along to me. And I fielded a call from the Orlando Sentinel for 5 minutes, and then it looks like Soccer America has already taken that article and repurposed it on their site.
Well,
this thing has grown legs beyond what I could have ever thought.
Yeah,
hey,
well,
welcome to your
happy
internet 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, at least it's 15 minutes getting us MLS on time.
Yeah, man,
Absolutely.
I absolutely believe that. I think that I think similar to the guy who got the permanent MLS flair for flying the plane over the Chivas game. I think I officially nominate you for permanent flair about the flowers.
Yeah. You have forever
I think the moderators responded to something and said, "Enjoy your custom text flare." I haven't looked to see what it was yet. I haven't had time.
Wow.
Right now.
Yeah, why are we not all looking right now?
Hold on. I can find it.
Duke 282.
Oh god, this whole thing's taken off so fast. So crazy.
Okay,
Now, everyone enjoy the podcast while we all furiously Google things.
Yeah. Trying to find a post that you made in something other than the live.
Oh, because it's not going to work there.
Okay, Floral Mastermind.
Yes!
And the top left, the photo is of flowers of the CBA deal reached.
Oh, that's awesome! You're right. The header has the flowers up at the top.
Yeah.
I am going to take a screen grab of that and print it out and frame it.
Oh no! Okay, they're not the flowers. They're just of flowers. I'm sorry to say.
No, we don't know what the flowers look like yet.
Yeah, so no, that's like a GIS image of red tulips, like, but.
Look, this is just another example of MLS not being transparent. We need to know what those flowers look like.
Yeah, Don Garber.
Come on, Don.
Don, we know that you listen to the podcast, so go ahead and rectify that.
Yeah.
So
listen, I don't know about you, but if I was in your position, this would be like under special skills on my resume. I would just list a single line that said ended contract dispute in
Major Sports League. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll be adding it to my LinkedIn profile
Help
tonight.
Negotiate.
Master negotiator. It's like, yeah, you know that movie, The Negotiator, with Kevin Spacey and Samuel L. Jackson? Yeah, that was about me.
Basically me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Duke, while we have you on here, we're discussing preseason tiers. Who's your team? Because all I see is MLS Flair now for you.
I don't have an MLS affiliation yet.
Aha.
I've just been a general fan for a while.
Oh,
never worked in a market that had a team, so I've never had the chance to really be a season ticket holder.
You're a Las Vegas
saw a
guy,
need to
right?
affiliate.
So where are you from?
You're Las Vegas?
Las Vegas now, moved from Louisville, Kentucky last year, so I was part of the Louisville Coopers that helped to bring the LCFC to town in Moved right before that team was announced, and now I'm in Vegas and started up the Atom City Army, trying to bring a team to Vegas. Now that our MLS bid is done, we're focusing on USL or NASL.
Okay,
Nice.
that sounds worthy. I would say that the NASL guys would look at it and be like, "This is just crazy enough to work." So that might be the way.
Well, USL's looking at it too. Don't worry. They voted us.
I will
Do
say
you
that
have-
geographically speaking, the closest team is the LA Galaxy, and so.
Have you narrowed it down to a couple of contenders? Do you have your eye on teams that you enjoy their play style, or maybe the coaching, or you know them from international play?
So because I moved here from Louisville, before I was looking at a lot of teams out on the East Coast, it was de facto going to be Orlando City because Louisville City was going to be their USL Pro affiliate. So just a natural fit. But when I moved out here, it's like, well, if I'm going to be an Orlando City fan, all those games are going to be on early, and it's going to be really hard to watch them. So I don't know if I'm going to do the Orlando City thing or if I'm going to find a West Coast team or just another team in general. I'm just going to watch this season again as a open-minded fan and see if a team sticks.
Well, I could say that Greg Cochran went to college in Louisville, and he currently plays for Chicago. If that helps you out any. If you want
And
to
don't
get
forget New England Revolution defender Farrell. Andrew Farrell.
Andrew Farrell went there too. That's right. Yeah, I believe that they were drafted the same year actually.
Are
One
you an
slightly
MLS
higher than
Live?
the other.
Are you an MLS Live subscriber?
I am an MLS Live subscriber.
Perfect. That's what you're going to need to help you decide. Just, the same advice everybody always gives, which is just watch. Your team will pick you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And why
we'll
haven't-
just
why
watch
haven't-
you on in like
so
6
limited.
months to find out.
And why haven't they hooked you up with free MLS Live yet? That seems really...
I mean, it's the least they could do for making
Yeah.
sure that the
It's
game
been at
after the
least
league
3 hours since you solved the CBA, so...
and let us be the first to say thank you because we
Oh, you're
we
welcome.
know that was
It was my honor.
yeah. On behalf of our listeners and the entire subreddit.
All right, well, we do want to thank you. We all owe you an enormous debt of gratitude for making the MLS season happen. Before we let you go, is there any sort of cause or any Twitter handle you want to put out there?
If I'm going to throw a Twitter handle out, it'd be for the supporters group out here for @Atom City Army, ATOMCITYARMY. Same for Facebook page, same for the website.
And that's a group that's trying to get Las Vegas some sort of pro team, and you guys deserve one. You guys deserve a chance to prove yourselves at that
I
level.
think we'll get there. We'll get there. It's just going to take a little bit of time, a little bit of legwork.
And that is a city that is hungry for a pro team on literally any sport. Yeah, so.
Yep. I will say we are very
rooting
close
for
to
you.
NHL now. Very close.
That's true.
Nice.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right,
well, we're rooting for you.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you
you.
so much, and thanks for the season.
All right. Take care, guys.
All right, that was our MLS legend, the Duke, 282.
All right, so normally we would take a break. Not normally, because this is the first time we've done a 4-part podcast. But
There's just so much to talk about.
there is just so much to talk about. So let's
Oh,
let's
life
get
is
on.
officially over, guys. We did it.
Before we get into tiers 1 through 3, let's talk about how that was basically the greatest event thing in MLS history. Those live threads the last 2 days.
Those were great. Yeah, actually, yeah. Very massive props to Remy D&D and Some Cruise Dude for keeping those updated.
Yeah,
So-
that was our first live thread in history, and I think it went off better than it could have. Out here on the West Coast, I was up until about 2, and I was patiently following it. I couldn't believe how late Cruise Dude stayed up, and from what I saw when I woke up, it looked like there was only like a 3-hour downtime until Remy picked it back up, and nothing had happened. So it was round the clock coverage, and they were all on top of it. It was really cool.
Yeah. I had a lot of fun last night on that thread, just saying shit and drinking and all that. Sounds like I'm headed for another night of drinking after this ridiculous
Yikes.
excuse for a soccer match.
Yeah, well, oh man, that's gonna be my Friday. Is really taking advantage. I mean, we are going up against Chicago, so LA's probably got a pretty good chance of coming
Getting
out
a
of the
tie.
gate.
Oh.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Oh my God, yeah. It's like I actually want. God, do I want Chicago to tie tomorrow so they can be the first team to just go 0-34-0? Like,
I think we just picked up a penalty.
It's not going to help Ian.
I'm sorry, you guys would have to set a land speed record for number of goals
3
scored.
more goals. Yeah, that definitely looks like a penalty.
Oh, penalty! Yeah, that is. Why? Yes, that is a penalty.
That is definitely a call I would have made.
Yeah.
Let's see how much stoppage time we can get. We only need 2. Man City did it.
Come on.
They can do it. We can
3
do
more
it.
tiers. We're running way over.
Well, don't get ahead of yourself. Spindola hasn't even buried this one yet.
Yeah, you're right. He probably won't. He probably won't. He's gonna miss. Oh, we made it!
Oh, yay!
All right.
So, let's talk about Tier 3.
So, Ian, I want to hear your rationale for calling this unproven paper contenders.
Well, he means contenders on paper.
Yeah. That's exactly what I mean.
Okay.
Because there's just a lot of new pieces or a lot of shifting around that they look good on paper. Like, it's one of those things you look at a bunch of names and say, oh, this team could contend for a title. But you want to wait and see what they do. That was a really long and drawn out explanation for what was a very simple concept.
Sure. Toronto is the obvious one, although all these people talking about, I mean, I guess you don't see that much on RMLS, but there are a lot of people talking about how Josie's going to suck, and I think that is absolutely insane. I think that Josie Altidore is going to make all of those chances that all those great Michael Bradley chances ended up getting wasted via Gilberto and most especially Dominic Oduro. Why do people pay him to still play soccer? All of those are going to be in the back of the net this year. Like there's no chance that Josie doesn't get double-digit goals. At least.
I think the Josie hate comes from fans on RMLS, but most of what I've seen from sports writers is expecting him to contend for MVP, which is definitely where I think he'll be.
I think he will. I think he's going to have an MVP caliber season. I really do.
I absolutely do.
I think,
especially Michael Bradley, like you said, the kind of service and through ball that he's going to be fed against, not the same kind of defenses that he's been going up against in the EPL. I mean, I think he's going to feast.
And Sunderland was like the worst team in the world for him to be on. Like if Stoke City had gotten him, he'd be a fucking legend for them by now. That's a little bit of an overstatement, obviously, but he clearly was a better player than his time at Sunderland made him look.
Agreed.
Hey, how are there only 3 minutes of stoppage time? Haven't there been 70 fouls in this half?
Including a PK.
Well, where's the ref team from?
I guess.
I mean,
not.
are they Honduran referees or something? Like you don't know, man. Like it's
the magic of CONCACAF.
Yes. Oh, God, they look like they're about to get another penalty. Oh, that was a terrible touch. KC, I think is an interesting one for me. Of the teams in the West, the one that's actually starting to scare me the most right now, outside of the obvious Seattle, is Kansas City. They had a pretty poor year last year, but I think. God, I was so happy when Roger Espinoza left, and now that he's back, oh my God, him plus Benny Feilhaber in the midfield is one that I'm really not looking forward to seeing 3 times a year.
Yeah.
I think that Graham Zusi completely rested is going to be pretty amazing. Their defense is obviously much weaker than it has been in the past,
right?
But I think Matt Beasler is going to return to form in a big way. I think that whomever they put next to him is going to look really good.
Yeah, I'm just I am not sold. I'm not sold. Yeah, I'm not sold on whoever that center back next to him is going to be. I'm also not sold on that right back position, And
Yes.
that's not, typically a thing that you have to super worry about that you are shitty at. Except that's
In their
as
system, it is something that you need to worry about. Yes.
yeah, absolutely, and it's what literally every MLS team that beat them, which was like half of them in the second half of last year, is how they exploited them. Did the game just end?
Yes, it did.
Yep.
Oh my god!
Weird.
Gotta be kidding me.
So I'm gonna go ahead and close that window down.
Yeah.
So
I-
here's the thing: is as far as talking about Beasler and Zusi getting healthy, I think a lot of people would argue that that had a lot to do with the Klinsmann overtraining thing we've been hearing a lot about. But aren't those same guys going to be playing in the Gold Cup? Is that going to affect Kansas City?
Very potentially, and I think the short answer to that is yes, because the Gold Cup is going to be. It's going to affect everybody, obviously.
Right.
But I think it's hard to say that a Gold Cup played in North America is going to be as taxing as a World Cup played in Brazil.
Yeah, no, and played in the jungle in Brazil, certainly. But I'm also curious about whether Beasler still has favor on that team after his very public comments about the overtraining.
Well, and also the lack of communication. He prompted a direct response from Klinsmann when he said, look, tell us that that's what you want. And he was like, well, I should expect people to be ready to represent their country at all times, which is of course insane because
Yes, it is.
which Klinsmann himself wasn't. He was like, if you went to any point in his career and say that he was fucking World Cup winning level at all times, no. But and I know that Klinsmann listens to this too, so his silence is very telling that he has not responded to my criticisms yet.
Agreed.
But Casey, if Dom Dwyer has another good year, and if they can find a good person for that front three, so of excuse me, sorry. If they find good wingers who can consistently get in good service, get in dangerous positions, if Graham Zusi can continue doing what he did prior to the World Cup last year, I think that they are going to be hell on fucking wheels.
Yep.
It's a lot of ifs though, and it's a tough West. And the current tier system, I have them missing the playoffs with RSL, which would be hilarious.
That would be you have them missing. So San Jose.
I have five teams ahead of them.
Well, there's 6 playoff spots this year.
Yeah, I was about to say.
You're right. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have them in the play-in round.
Yeah.
Yeah,
On the road in the play-in round.
Yeah, it's like the people that we have missing the playoffs are the same ones that I would suspect missing the playoffs, which is San Jose, Houston, and Colorado in the West.
I added Salt Lake to that group. Ow.
Yeah. Well, but only 3 teams are gonna. Never mind. Okay, so.
No. There are 4 teams, Will. There's
4 teams. No, you're right.
6 spots, 10 teams.
I'm sorry. No, you're right. There are 4
So
teams.
you have RSL not making the play-in round.
Correct.
I can see that happening. It's tough to know, but I can see that happening. Montreal is another very interesting thing. I think that their entire season is going to live and die by the form of Jack McInerney.
So I said
that's clearly the definition of unproven paper contender.
Yes.
There is absolutely no proof that will be anything other than a dumpster fire, except when you look at it on paper.
Yeah, and it.
And beating Pachuca. That's a huge statement.
That is a huge statement.
I hate recording this now instead of a week ago when they hadn't beaten Pachuca yet, or 2 weeks ago when they hadn't even played Pachuca yet. Because I still believed in them then, because I felt like their offseason was very similar to what we did prior to 2014. They got a lot of above-average MLS players to the extent that basically their entire starting 11 is above average. I'm a big fan of Piatti.
Me too. Big fan of Piatti, big fan of Justin Mapp. I actually am a big fan of Jack McInerney.
Justin Mapp, man.
Yeah.
Piatti made a huge impact pretty instantly, kind of surprisingly, mid-season last year, and it didn't get noticed by a lot of people because Montreal was still terrible.
Right.
And they actually brought in some defenders who can defend.
And they got rid of Carl we met, who was then picked up by New York, the Red Bulls. God, I'm
Right.
gonna have to differentiate between the two from now on. It's so.
Yeah. You can just call them Metros if you want. I think they'll be happy about that.
Actually, yeah,
Um,
I might do that.
they like legit would be happy about that. Yeah. And yeah, I just like everything they did. I guess they're starting Bakri Sumari and Rio Coker.
I think them picking up Rio Coker was well. I mean, I've been talking this guy up for months, but I think if
You
you
like
can't
him.
find if you cannot find a good place for him, you're a terrible coach. And yeah, respect to Carl Robinson, who never really found out a good way to use him. Playing him at right back, what the fuck? But uh, I think that they're gonna surprise a lot of people. Although maybe not. I mean, I guess they already did.
Right. So the danger here is talking about Montreal the way we talked about San Jose after their surprise almost defeat of Toluca last year.
Mhm.
They, that went to penalties. They very well could have / should have won, according to some people. And it's like, oh hey, maybe San Jose is going to be really good, and they go out and they lose a lot, and they end up being pretty terrible. So there is that danger, and I think that's a possibility. I just see a lot of similarities to what we did last year, and it really just doesn't go much deeper than that. I feel good about them. I think
Uh,
I feel worse about them than I do, and when I write out these tiers tomorrow, I might end up switching them with DC, but we'll see.
yeah, Montreal is definitely a question mark, but a lot of what I think that they're going to do this year is based on really actually how good they played last year. They were a terrible defense that was behind a pretty stellar offense when they needed to be, and I don't think that them losing DeVio is nearly as big of a hit as Metro's losing Henri or LA losing Donovan. So I think that they could continue to play the game that they were playing. I think that them like switching McInerney for Wenger with Philly was one of like the best win-win trades I've seen in this league. And they've been slowly building on that success. And Frank Klopas, while crazy, not a bad coach. So yeah, I think that I definitely could see them squeaking into the playoffs and surprising the first team they play.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good transition to move to the next tier. I think we've covered Toronto, SKC, and Montreal pretty well. So,
Yeah.
Ian, you've got this called One Piece Away. So we are looking at teams that might not necessarily be title contenders out of the gate, but you feel like in injury-free, maybe they bring somebody in. These teams are awfully close to competing.
Yeah, I do. And so it's LA and it's Vancouver and it's Portland. And I'm high on Portland because they had a really terrible 10-game start. After that, though, their last 24 games, they were among the top in MLS. And I know you should count starts for something, but you should also count the last 24 games for something. And they had a lot of impressive results. They ended up destroying Vancouver on the road 3-0 in a game that they needed. They, of course, blundered away a Toronto game that they really needed too.
Yeah.
But still, you've got a lot of pieces, and you have now a lot of guys on defense who aren't there anymore, who
Yeah.
were really detrimental to life and stuff. And I don't know. I believe in this team.
I think that there's a lot of people who are looking at them as the big dark horse, as a big dark horse this year. Actually, all three Cascadia teams. The Cascadia Cup is going to be
Great. I think
crazy awesome this year. Yeah.
I think all three are going to make the playoffs.
You say that you're high on Portland. I am pretty fucking high on Vancouver this year.
Same. Yeah.
I am like you talked about Kansas City being the team that's going to be hell on fucking wheels. I'm looking at Vancouver like that. I'm looking at Vancouver like every single time they're on the schedule is a scary fucking game.
Well, a lot of that depends on Octavio Rivero, who's looked very good so far, obviously. But and whether or not Pedro Morales can perform at the same level with everybody in the West gunning for him. I would say that he will. Like, I mean, he's just too good. He is so good. I mean, he was one of those guys where you look at World Cup teams playing, and you're just like, you guys couldn't use this. Like, you don't want to call this guy, but Vancouver's looking good. I think the big question mark for them is going to be Kekuta Mane, if he can be good all of the time.
Yeah, they have a lot of players. Vancouver has traded in a lot, like their existences in players who are good sometimes, who are very, very good sometimes, but never all the time. And if they have just one or two of those players make that step up, Kekuta Mane being top of that list, yeah, they could kick ass, and they could, yeah.
Yeah, I'm worried about that last pass from them. Like, if you think about somebody like Justin Mapp on that team, that's a terrifying kind of prospect that I would think about. But and that's actually probably why one piece away is really the best thing for them, because that's what Kekuta Mane needs to be. He needs to be the last pass.
Right. I don't see them as a complete team, and I think that's fine. Like, you don't have to go into a season with your complete team yet. You can see what works and what doesn't. I think Vancouver has a solid start. And by the way, they've looked pretty gangbusters in the preseason so far.
Yeah.
If they had beaten out Montreal in that, or I guess that was Toronto. That never mind. But they'll look pretty good in this CCL coming up, hopefully. And yeah, I'm excited for them. Do you want to talk about your team real quick?
I'll try to keep this fast. It's gonna be 20 games of pain, because holy shit, losing Landon Donovan and Marcelo Sarvis in the same offseason is detrimental to the way that they played their game.
Mm-hmm.
They could still do it. There's big question marks about the left midfield spot, like whether Josie Zardes is going to go over there with Alan Gordon, or please God no, Edson Buttles starting. There's questions about whether or not Bradford Jameson is good enough to take over that role from a starting spot right now. I don't think he is, but maybe. And then there's also and you might like this, a Finnish trialist whose name who escapes me, but who is on trial with the team right now, who is also a potential replacement there. There's instead of there being like just one guy that you need to worry about and be like, this guy needs to have a good season, then the team will have a good season, it's like 3 or 4 guys. It's Josie Zardes, is he still going to play at the same level? Is he going to bag double-digit goals again? Is Keane, being a year older, going to, like, is he finally over the hill? Is Robbie Rogers going to play as well as he did? Now, my gut says yes, yes, and yes to all of those, but you just can't know. Like, erring on the side of caution, it makes me wonder. I mean, is everything really going to line up again like that? But losing Landon Donovan is immeasurably bad.
Yeah, I was going to say, it doesn't help to lose the guy the MVP trophy is named after.
Yeah, right. Like, it doesn't. Yeah. I'm very optimistic about Gerrard. I am, even though he's ancient. But I do think that he's going to bring a lot to the team. And a lot of people talk about how, well, he's going to be a DP coming in midseason, and therefore he's not going to do very well. But I think the way the team is set up right now, I'm not going to say that he's going to like walk on and get 10 goals and 10 assists in 12 games or something. But I do think that he is going to be very effective right out of the gate. I think that he's going to have, the usual 2, 3, 4 games where he's coming off the bench. And I don't think necessarily the lack of a break is going to kill him, even though he's been playing pretty solidly since, with the World Cup in this past offseason for him. Because he's not like that tireless guy anymore. He's not like, he hasn't been running around a lot in the same way that he did when he was younger. And so he's somebody like David Beckham who did a very good job of pacing himself through games. And so I don't see that there's any reason to think that he would stop doing that all of a sudden when he came here.
So I guess my question to you is, currently LA is, by all of the sports books, the #1 favorite to win the MLS title.
Well, that's only because they're the defending champions. I mean,
right.
Okay, so my question is, do you agree more with that, or do you agree more with my they're in the second tier, one piece away division?
I would say that
year?
I'd say that they would be like an outside title contender, like with Vancouver.
Okay.
If they can find, basically, if they could survive the time before, because they've had really shitty starts to seasons and then gone on to win MLS Cup. 2012 being a particularly dramatic example of that.
Right.
And Bruce Arena is a man who can coach his way through the playoffs, and so.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. When I put LA, when I didn't put LA in tier 1, I almost put you guys in there out of deference, out of
Yeah.
kind of like in the NBA with the Spurs. You gotta trust the infrastructure. You gotta trust the system. And
Yeah.
I think they'll be in the playoffs, and they know how to navigate that. And Bruce Arena is a man who knows things.
He's a guy who can coach it, who can get wins when he absolutely has to.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why I would say that they're outside title contenders with Vancouver in a way that Portland probably isn't, if that makes sense.
I agree.
Because like Vancouver's probably like is mine along with everybody else's, it seems, the dark horse candidate to win, to take the whole thing, and certainly to be the first Canadian team to really show up the American teams in the playoffs, I think, because I think that they're going to make the Western Conference Final. I do, Vancouver. But LA, it's tough. A lot of that is doomsaying because my favorite player is gone. My two favorite players on the team actually are gone. But the defense is going to be really, really good still, and as long as Leonardo isn't starting. If they can find an attacker who can connect with the forwards, like somebody who can connect with Keane, who's probably going to be taking on more of a playmaking role.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are we ready to roll to tier 1? Do we have anything else to say about those 3 teams?
You know what? I think we should probably move up. Why don't you tell us? Okay, so this title contenders tier is Dallas, New England, Columbus, and Seattle. And one of these teams, Pete, I think Pete is particularly interested in and particularly knowledgeable about. I, of course, mean the Columbus Crew.
Of course, yeah.
So
wow. out of all of
I guess I'm sorry. I guess we're holding up.
Yeah. Okay, holding up. Damn it.
Yeah. We were covering for you, Ian, but now we'll stop.
Yeah, Ian, we're going to let you just hop right back in. Do you have a quick little mute button on the side?
Yes, I do.
That's awesome, because I see you coughing like nothing comes through, and I'm like, oh, he's all over that.
I don't know if you can see it or not, but whatever. There's a little red light on there, and so, there's a mute button on the side.
Is that originally a gaming headset?
It is, yeah. It's a Logitech headset. But it also... it's got good sound, very good sound quality.
It does. It has great sound quality.
Yeah,
You've always sounded just fine.
Yeah, but yeah, it's got like the fake 7.1. And it's the best like fake surround sound headset I've ever heard. So like I use it for like watching movies and stuff.
Nice.
Anyway, yeah. So we segued into tier 1, but I guess we can do that again and see if you can splice.
I'll make it happen.
So basically, let's just take off from where James said that I wanted to talk about the Columbus Crew.
You want to talk about the Columbus Crew?
I made a joke about saying that there was a team that Pete probably knew better than the other 3 of us, and I of course meant the Columbus Crew.
Yeah. So pick up from that point, and we'll jump in right here. So out of all of the tiers that Ian has laid out for us, I've probably had at least one team in his bottom 5 tiers that I would have moved to a different tier, but I have the most inline ideas with Ian on the title contenders of Dallas, New England, Columbus, and Seattle. That's almost
that looks like 1 and 2 of both conferences right there. Yep. Absolutely.
Yep. 100%. I'm gonna go out and say that between Seattle caring about the Open Cup and wanting to make another strong run, being in the CCL again this season, I'm gonna say that Seattle does not challenge for the Supporters' Shield. I think we miss it by 5 to 8 points. I think we have a great year. I think we come in maybe second in the West, but I think that. I honestly think that the Supporter Shield is going to go to Columbus this year. Between playing in the East and not being in the bloodbath of the West, the pieces they've put together, the year they had last year, I really think that Columbus has what it takes to win the regular season title anyway.
I can see that. I mean, yeah, they managed to, like, even without a straight up goal scorer, they've managed to put up some pretty serious numbers last year. And now that they have Kai Kamara, is somebody that I don't think is amazing, but is certainly somebody that you could stick up at the front and he knows where the net is. And so, by adding in a piece that they could use but didn't necessarily need, like that says a lot to me. Like that's a big positive move.
And I talked before about how you need a semblance of competence in the front office to be consistently good. New England has found that of late. They really traded up in terms of which craft is running the place. Yeah. Right. So yeah, and exactly, like, to have somebody who cares, who's with the team 24/7, and is actually smart and shit, that's really helped them. Surprise, surprise. Dallas is another, like, it's odd that Dallas and New England are here, because we think about the Hunts and the Crafts as, like, guys who got American soccer off the ground but probably weren't going to be able to succeed so much in it, at least at the league level, for quite a while. But now that they're both focusing on just one team, they kind of got their shit together, and Pareja basically raised that academy. He's like the father of that team, almost literally. And they just keep churning out talent, and it makes sense because that area has a lot of soccer talent, as we know.
Yes,
absolutely. And it keeps coming. They've got so many young players. They've got Acosta. They've got a bunch of players. I don't know. I don't even want to list them all.
Yeah, there's a ton.
Well, I mean, if Mauro Diaz can stay healthy, oh my God.
Dallas is scary. Yeah. With
magical little unicorn. Yeah.
Yeah. So, this is an incredible tier. I totally see this being 1 and 2. Like I said, I think Columbus is going to win the East as well as the Supporters Shield. I actually think that Dallas will beat Seattle out for the #1 spot in the West. And I think they will compete for the Supporters Shield, but ultimately Columbus will win it 2 weeks out. I think it'll be a pretty clear winner there. So the #1 complaint that I've seen for Seattle being a title contender is that they haven't changed a whole lot. And
that's a good thing.
That's what I think. That's actually the argument that I think puts Seattle as a title contender. Seattle's biggest problem over their first 6 years of being in the playoffs and never getting through is that both from season to season and within the season, we had incredibly volatile lineups, whether it was injuries, trades, international duties. Seattle, I think especially in our 2013 year, had something ridiculous like 34 league games. We had 32 different lineups. And that level, that lack of consistency just kills you. And last year we set a record for the most consistent lineup, and surprise, surprise, we won the Supporters Shield. And everyone is returning with the exception of DeAndre Edlin. You have Chad Marshall, a renewed man, defender of the year, comes back. You've got Obafemi as an MVP candidate, and Dempsey, and the core of the team, with the exception of Ozzie Alonso, is very, very healthy. And I think that they're going to be a very strong team. Like I said, because of the addition of CCL and the fact that the Sounders take the Open Cup really seriously every year, I just don't see us competing for a Supporters Shield. But I could see us going at least to the semifinal round of the Open Cup. And I'm going to say it now. I think that we're going to see a Cascadia Western Conference. I'm going to say Seattle and Vancouver in the Western Conference final.
That could be very interesting. I agree that they've done a lot of big things in the offseason by not making a lot of changes, though one that I thought was particularly good is moving Brad Evans to center back.
Absolutely.
That is such a good idea. I was thinking people were talking about, who are we going to get to replace DeAndre Edlin? I'm like, you don't need to replace him. You have Brad Evans.
Right.
But But moving him to center back, and seeing it actually in action is kind of amazing. Was a great idea. And besides, he's played everywhere else except in goal for you guys anyway, so might as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's that guy. He's that utility player, and with the dearth of good midfielders that we have a choice of, you have a hard time having Brad Evans as your captain, but not necessarily wanting him to start at midfield because of your options like Nagel and Papa and Pineda and Alonso and now Azira, and so it's a really tough thing. And now we snuck and got Roldan, our local boy, picked him up at the end of the draft, and so moving Brad Evans to center back, not only do you get to keep Brad Evans as that veteran captain presence on the field, but you also get the opportunity to give Zach Scott a little bit of a break. Zach Scott's another year old, and he surprised everyone with how good he looked next to Chad Marshall. And you bring somebody with even better field vision and younger legs and put him next to Marshall, and it's going to be really exciting. I guess the big question mark there is our British veteran that we brought in to replace DeAndre, Tyron Mears. So, I mean, he's got a lot of experience. He's,
Yeah, but he's got a lot of miles on him.
He has a lot of miles.
A lot of experience is a nice way of saying he's old.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to end up working out for you guys, unfortunately. But
well, he's not a like-for-like replacement. He's not going to be racing up the wings. He's going to be a stay-at-home defender, and honestly, that might be to the Sounders' benefit. We have enough players going forward at this point.
You will be surprised, though, at how that changes your offense.
Well, but a lot of the times they had Brad Evans.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of times talked on this podcast, right midfield, and now it's going to be Nagel. Like that that dynamism is going to come from the midfield instead of from the right back position. I don't really think it's going to be that big a difference.
We've talked on this podcast though about how kind of interesting and I don't want to say kinky because that's exactly the wrong adjective. How quirky it is to have a right back who can do the things that Yedlin can do, or a Yedlin-like person. Like when we didn't have Nahar anymore, that was basically the only person that him and Voskovic after the 2012 season, and then obviously went to the shitter. And it was partially because our offense became significantly more predictable. Now, I don't think Seattle is going to have that kind of a problem. Because
Papa and Nagel are both found their form towards the end of the season in a big way on that team, and so I think that we're going to see a much more dynamic and a much wider team than we saw last year.
And I fucking hope so.
And their strikers are still Dempsey and Oba, and I'm pretty sure those two guys are a little bit better than our striker pair of Michael Santos and Leonard Pajoy.
Ever so slightly.
I don't want to make the DC 2012 comparison, but just be wary that it might take away a little element that made your offense a little more fun. But that said, you're going to have an amazing center back pairing, and I harp on that a lot.
Me too.
Center back pairings are important. If you have a really good one, you should make the playoffs. Which is why I think we should make the playoffs because we have a pretty good one. I think we're top 4. I think.
No. Sorry, I didn't mean to disagree with that assessment. But
yeah.
I think an important point that we're leaving out, particularly about Columbus, is how strong their kit game is, and I feel like that's going to be a big decider for them.
Yeah, I know. I mean, there are going to be so many guys who are posting up on, say, Federico Higuain, just be like, "Damn, that is a nice crest," and all of a sudden he's gone.
Like, and then, you're playing a team like Columbus, who's on the road. You feel like you've got your home fortress, and then you're looking at that sexy black kit with the checkerboard, and you're like mesmerized by it, and he blows by you again.
Yeah. It's pretty bad. Yeah. One last thing about Seattle, I think the big question going into them is which would be the difference between them making the playoffs and then cruising through them, is Michael Azira and Andy Rose. One of those guys needs to step up. I think it'll end up being Andy Rose, and I actually, if he gets good enough to displace Pineda, that team is my favorite to win everything. If they can get somebody who's as good two-way as he won't be as good as Marcelo Sarvis, but if Andy Rose can be the Marcelo Sarvis for that team, that's a treble team.
And that's Andy Rose's ceiling. Whether
Right.
he gets there this year is debatable. And I agree with you. I think we'll see, about the halfway point that Pineda's legs are done, and that Andy Rose is going to need to step up. And if he can reach even close to that ceiling, I agree that he could be a Sarvis type player.
Yeah.
And he's fucking huge on top of it. He's just a massive player on top of it.
He's got a cannon of a right foot when he really wants to, and
aerial dominance. Yeah, he's. I've been very high on Rose for a long time. I'm really excited about his potential. He was the guy. I'm sure you guys remember in the offseason, I was the most concerned about losing him in the expansion draft. He was my number one guy that I was worried about, and I'm psyched we still have it.
Yeah. Well, are you guys? This wasn't as much of an evisceration of my tears as I thought it was going to be. I'm a little bit excited.
Wait. Let's do a quick 2 minutes on New England. That's pretty much the only team we haven't touched on.
That's true.
Yes.
So I would say I'm worried about the defense. I think that losing AJ Soares is a very big deal. It does put Andrew Farrell in his better position, but I'm still not as huge into Andrew Farrell as a lot of other people are.
Well, so people are worried about the Gonsalves-Farrell pairing because they're worried that
they're the same player. They're the same guy.
And that is troublesome. That said, they do play as you say, a conference that doesn't value defense as much.
Right.
And they have one hell of an attack.
Oh my God, yeah. Juan Agudelo will definitely be able to do some damage in the East and in the league as a whole. My real question is the same thing that I was talking about for Pedro Morales. Is Lee Nguyen going to have that same kind of season with everybody and their mother gunning for him? And I'm actually not so sure about that this time. Because the idea of him getting the ball in zone 14 5 times a game, it's just not going to happen this year.
Yeah, he's going to see the Nagby effect and just constantly get hacked down.
So,
I think you might be right.
So that could happen, but the people who are around Lee Nguyen are better than who Nagby had around him in Portland.
Sure,
that's true. But and also that's a team that tends to protect its midfield in a way that Portland typically doesn't. But especially now with Johnson gone.
I'm writing down just all the players who are going to join the New England attack this year, and it's a lot of fun. This is a fun exercise. Not fun for everybody else in the MLS, but so far I've got Agudelo, Lee Nguyen, Kellen Rowe, Charlie Davies, Jermaine Jones, Diego Fagundes. Teal Bunbury's still on that team, right?
Yep.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. And actually, them being a title contender team is dependent upon him being displaced by Diego Fagundes. We need to see 2013 Diego Fagundes.
I want to see more of him too.
I also want to see a landmark year from Kellen Rowe. I want to see Kellen Rowe just light it up.
Yeah, I would love to see him in central midfield again, but
you want to see some national team hype around Kellen Rowe? Yeah, I'm with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Guys, that's 2 hours. That's a solid podcast worth of between the CBA and all 20 teams broken down to exactly how they're going to do this year because
if anybody knows, it's us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey,
We've never been wrong about this before.
No, I was perfect 19 for 19 last year.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So, do we have some bold predictions for the opening weekend that's going to happen?
Well, I feel like you kind of made a bold prediction while we were talking about Orlando earlier.
What did I say? Oh, 4 goals?
You said they would win by 4 goals.
I already made that prediction, though, at one point, in one episode, so it doesn't count. In a previous episode.
Well, I just want to remind our listeners, so when that happens, you can be the first guy that said it.
Yes. That will be nice.
Bold prediction for the weekends.
Bold prediction. We hear some pretty nasty shit from some players about how dissatisfied they are with the CBA. There'll be some sideways glances, maybe some sideline reporters hearing some things if it gets going to get some people fined.
James, if this is going to be a bold prediction, I need specific players. I need at least 2 or 3. You need
Oh,
a
okay.
field of 2 or 3
jeez.
players that are going to talk shit about it.
Oh man, that's tough.
Well, who were the? You have to think about the guys that were actually there because they probably have the most vim and vigor.
That's just it. Yeah, and like I'm trying to think of like. Well, the person that I would think who would actually say the most incendiary thing actually isn't going to be on the field, and that's Tally Hall. Because he was the like, I think when I think of somebody who like is like that's the kind of player, like not a star, but I mean even though he was an all-star one year, like not necessarily some. He's never been on any materials that they send out to the Houston faithful and say like, oh hey, here's this guy, and he certainly wasn't somebody that the Orlando City people put up as a marquee signing, or at least he certainly wouldn't have been if he wasn't their first. So I would think that he's exactly the type of guy who's actually didn't get what he wanted. Like I think that he wanted
Tally
freedom
Hall.
today. But okay.
All right, Tally Hall.
Tally Hall and Jeff Lorenowitz.
Okay.
Love it. Ian's writing all this down for the listeners
Yeah.
at home. He's taking
Well, because I'm
notes.
going to be right. I'm batting 1,000 when it comes to my bold predictions.
So this is not my bold prediction, but I'm going to say it. I think that we get incredibly lucky that the season starts on time because this is the best opening week of soccer that we have seen. We have some of the most amazing matchups based on the tiers that we've set. We've got Vancouver and Toronto, who are both looking to be contenders. The Canadian rivalry, that's going to be incredible.
And they both want to jump out of the gate and impress immediately.
Absolutely. You have Portland and RSL. I think that's going to be, a competing for a 5th and 6th spot type of plays. And they're always insane games. Every time those teams meet, they're crazy, crazy good games.
And Borcher's coming back against RSL. That's something.
Oh my God! Yeah, right.
In Portland, the first game. Yeah. And then you've got the 2 new expansion teams, Orlando and New York. You follow that up with
LA and Chicago, which I know everybody's looking forward to the most, more than any other game.
The first draw of the season, everybody loves that. and then you've got SKC and the Red Bulls. You've got the Supporters Shield versus the MLS Cup runner-up New England. It's just such a good weekend. I'm so pumped.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. And when I look at these tiers and I look at the 4 teams that really, really excite me. And there's only like 2 or 3 teams that I'm not excited to watch. I don't want to watch Colorado. I don't really want to watch Chicago. I kind of want to watch Houston just because I'm intrigued. And
I'm curious about everybody. I think Colorado's 2 years away from being New England. And I think we're going to start seeing the hints of that this year.
Okay, here's my bold prediction. I'm ready for it. And Ian, I apologize in advance. Following up on the CCL game and our discussion, Montreal comes out of the gate firing, goes in and gets 3 points in DC.
Oh.
Yeah, I sure.
I'm sorry.
He's just like, no, that's not bold at all. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, I think DC is going to be a good team. I just think that this is Montreal's coming out party. I think that DC is a little bit tired from running all over the field trying to, win their CCL game, and I think Montreal comes out and does it.
Yeah, I think the Montreal hype is going to grow these first couple of games.
Yeah, I think so too.
And it's going to make me look like a bandwagoner, which I totally am not. I feel like I wish I had the time to go back through our past podcasts because I swear I called Montreal being good a couple weeks ago, but whatever.
Well, I'm going to stick with my last season East Coast favorites because everybody should pick a different team in the other conference. I'm going to stick with New England. I had such a good time watching them. I never thought that they would get as far as they did. I just thought they were a fun dark horse team, and so I am going to continue to enjoy watching them. And Kellen Rowe being a local product helps. I love that kid.
All right, so Ian, bold prediction.
Yes. All right. So you say, okay, what are you picking New England for to win this weekend, or
Oh no, he's just saying he likes them. He's gonna follow them.
Okay.
That's gonna be my East Coast team.
All right. Well, I like just the West in general because you guys have too many good teams. I'm gonna go with oh dear, all these games are pretty easy to pick this weekend. Philly and Colorado.
Apologize to our listeners.
Let's see. So, I was gonna kind of make that same prediction, Pete, about DC and Montreal, because yeah.
Beat you to it.
Instead of that, I already have my 4-goal Orlando over New York City that I for this week. So I'm gonna go ahead and move on to next week.
Okay.
And say that that Philly's gonna go into Salt Lake and destroy them by 3 goals, and everyone's gonna be like, "What's wrong with Salt Lake?" And they're gonna be right.
Okay.
That is bold. I will call that a bold prediction.
Yeah.
All right.
Holy shit, guys!
And Orlando will start 2-0. But that's not that bold.
Marathon podcast.
Indeed.
2 hours, probably 2 parts. We did it such that can happen.
Okay, we can do that because you could launch. Well, let's close this out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks again to all of our listeners. It's been a crazy week. Thank you for sticking around and enjoying the magic with us. Special thanks go out to the Duke 282 for ending the dispute and getting us soccer this weekend. And we will see you.
Also, shout out to Michael McCollum for joining us from Orlando. I know it seemed like 2 hours ago because it was, but.
And everyone look forward to a great weekend of our first weekend of soccer, and we will be recapping it later this week.
Meow.
Woo.